Hello and welcome to yet another video. This is the 9th episode in which Naruto's childhood happens differently. After an incident, Naruto grows up as a guest of the Hyuga clan, but he is more interested in his clan's legacy and aspires to be Hokage. However, a certain fox always gets in his way. Please like and subscribe to show your support. Let's get the show started. What are you up to? Hinata yelled, his voice cold. Her gaze was pierced by her Byakugan, which she had unconsciously activated. The redhead had gone too far by embracing Naruto, who appeared completely surprised by the situation. Naruto was slightly surprised by the way she answered the question, Hinata? Excuse me, it wasn't just a little. He was completely confused by the young Hyuga heiress's anger, which had never been seen before. Karen, on the other hand, did not have such thoughts. She retorted, I'm giving you a hug, Naruto, but didn't like Hinata's voice. Temari expressed confusion over the situation among the players he watched. Despite the confusion of Naruto and Hinata, Kiba's unenthusiastic look at the scene left him in a state of fury. As if her actions were entirely normal. I'm unsure of what's happening, but I believe we should discuss it. Temari attempted to calm the situation. I'm just giving Naruto a hug, Karen replied calmly, acknowledging that the blue-headed character's behavior wasn't indicative of his fear. The blue-haired girl looked at the red-headed girl with a smile, pretending to be okay with using the Juken. In what resembled a classic standoff, Naruto recovered in the moment of silence that followed. Karen. That's a fact, Karen replied, nodding in response to the blonde hue. Tsunade-sama uttered the words herself, saying it without hesitation. She was the one who found out after all. Naruto's expression was one of pure wonder as he smiled and looked at Karen with an all-consuming gaze. The thought that it was the last thing on my mind is an understatement. I always believed that I would be the only one left. Karen retorted. Temari asked, will you please explain, before these two lose their patience? Naruto's response, I want to introduce Uzumaki Karen, so please give me a hug and I'll show you the sword. Hinata's eyes shone and she appeared pale, as if her entire world had crumbled, and almost collapsed with him. Who would have thought there was a living member of my clan? Karen quipped, gesturing. I was unaware that I belonged to a clan. I wonder if you and Naruto were related because they both knew each other, right? Kiba asked. Oh, of course, Karen said with a smile on her face, unaware that he had misinterpreted the sight of her hugging Naruto. She wanted to prevent the Inuzuka from thinking she was manipulative. Kiba listened to the realization that, oh. After transitioning from anger to horror and back again, Hinata had experienced the entire emotional spectrum when she realized she had misunderstood the situation and was ashamed herself. I want to say sorry, she screamed before entering the mansion, passing the two Uzumaki. Karen had the ability to claim that the girl's face was more red than her hair. What was going on? Oh! She exclaimed. Naruto asked, Hinata? Karen prevented him from following her on foot, despite her efforts. Karen, can you tell me what happened? She asked with a smile on her lips. With no other thought or emotion, Naruto could only pause and give a silent nod to the Hyuga girl. The answer is, so what, exactly? Temari inquired about the process by which they established that there was a familial connection between the two individuals. Tsunade-sama spotted unusual values during the examination of my chakra, and when she examined my blood, she concluded that I was an Uzumaki. Basan was unsure about the identity of her grandmother, who she claimed was an Uzumaki. Seeing Naruto's confused expression, Karen admitted to thinking that you were already aware of the woman being called Basan. Isn't it true that the drunken person is part of the family? I think I should call her Bachan now. Was said by Naruto. You're probably going to be killed for that, Karen said in a dead-pained voice. Here she is, I give her a chance, Naruto quipped. Once again, Karen began to blush. What's the appropriate etiquette to use when addressing you? She reluctantly confessed that her lifelong aspiration was to have a brother. While living alone in the orphanage in Kyusugakure, the girl had always harbored jealousy towards her own family. "It's unlikely that either of us will learn about our parents or their ties to each other," Naruto said with a rasping grin. "I'd have to work a little harder, Karen, ne-chan." The sight of Karen jumping at his teammate gave Kiba a smile. For a moment, I thought to myself that she. Upon his arrival at the mansion that afternoon, Ako was well placed and the others kept their distance from the Hyuga woman. The only thing they discovered was that a certain snake bimbo had embarrassed her and made fun of it. She threw Ako out of the kitchen after Naruto asked him about the snake bimbo she knew. He had planned to assist her in preparing their meal, but decided it would be better to stay away for the time being. He chose to stay in the living room with the others instead of offering assistance. Despite the situation, Kankuro persisted in supporting his puppets. Kiba's only criticism was that the idiots had treated Karasu unfairly and there were complaints about his inability to find the right type of oil. Subsequently, the decision to leave him alone was reached unanimously. "Is she upset?" Kiba questioned, gazing at Naruto. "Very well, according to the speaker." Naruto sighed as he stated that Ako is not someone who easily gets angry, but she cannot calm down easily once she becomes upset. The most recent instance when she became angry was when Haruki tried to teach me shogi. Tamari's expression was grim. "How could you provoke her with such anger over a simple board game?" Naruto's expression was one of embarrassment, but he still smiled and kept his smile. "I was trying out a particular jutsu when I came across it at the time. My strength and coordination were affected by this. I accidentally disposed of one of the pieces when I attempted to move it. A carrier pigeon was beheaded by the damn thing that flew through a few walls." "A feeble pigeon?" Kiba's laughter was so loud that Hinata couldn't resist chuckling and eventually let go of her embarrassment. She and Haruki were so angry that she refused to let him teach me shogi again, prompting me to swear and not mess with the technique until I was confident in my ability to control it. At least a week after the gardening incident that happened, Hinata joked. Is there a possible explanation for her mild boredom? What took place? Karen asked her drained brother. I had to excavate a small area of dirt. They were hoping to plant new flowers and some trees. I had to do it despite the fact that it was quite boring because I don't want to look like some freeloader. Despite my enthusiasm, it was uninteresting, so I gave Futon Jutsu a try to improve its pace. He admitted to using a little too much chakra. Gaara's smile was not very impressive. Kiba inquired Karen about the admission process. So, how's everything going? Good news. The only thing they asked me to do was wait in the barracks until my paperwork is finalized, and then I can be part of your team. Upon discovering that Naruto is her family, Karen came to expect the possibility of. I wanted to remain silent and avoid intrusion. If you don't want me to be around, I can understand. I'll go back to the barracks if you are my ne-chan now, don't you? Naruto asked. You know, what kind of jerk would I be if I said no to me? And the good news is there are rooms left. Is it conceivable that Ako had been infuriated by Chie for his previous comments about a certain Jonin who was attacking the Hokage's grandson, or is it possible that Naruto asked why Hinata felt so angry towards Karen? The atmosphere remained unsatisfied due to the negative impact of this. It is unclear to Hinata why she would be upset with that. I've never seen her like that before. It seems like something is missing in this girl, just like how Ino and Sakura are always on sides together despite their feuds. Naruto expressed his hope that Karen and Hinata will not behave in such a manner. It goes without saying that Naruto was not even close to the truth. The anger exhibited by Hinata was evident to most people. The only ones who noticed were Kankuro, whose puppets required his complete attention, and Gaara. Despite finding humor and interest in the situation, Gaara, like Naruto, was unaware of why the others behaved in such a way. He probably had less experience with social interaction compared to Naruto, so the notion of people beseeching him to spare their lives was not entirely new. The good news was that Karen was too elated to be affected by Hinata's previous actions. Before this, she had no possessions or anything to show for it. She was an impromptu orphan who was bought by Kusagakure and trained to become a genin, with the intention of marrying her partner as soon as she could bear children. Kusa had procured her for the bloodline that facilitated her sense perception. She had been released from the grip of death by staring at her eyes. Her family, friends, and even a home had been found. Even though she knew that the place they resided in was only a temporary fix, it was superior to okonomiyaki for her. She believed that this savory pancake was the food of heaven. Despite the delicious food, her new lifestyle was unbeatable. She was fortunate enough to have had several chances to be intimate with Kiba, the one who had saved her and initiated all these transformations in her life. As everyone was absorbed in their own thoughts, Naruto sought to discuss the Kekkai Genkai found in Sunagakure, specifically those that combined futon and katan. The Mizukage's insight was the most beneficial lesson he had learned about the topic. Temari remarked that you wanted to combine wind and fire in your life. Is it possible to do that, or not? Gaara recognized that a Kekkai Genkai is innate and not to be duplicated, Gaara stated. If you were proficient in handling two elements, wouldn't it be possible to create an elemental Kekkai Genkai? Temari inquired. That would require a great deal of skill. It's not within my ability to make such a statement. The reproduction of a Kekkai Genkai that was made up of futon and katan would be an extremely difficult task, even if I knew of anyone who had one. Pakura, Gaara referred to, as per his statement. Gaara's voice was dry as she said, Shikuten no Pakura, the hero of the hidden sand. His siblings observed him. She taught me for a brief period before her death in battle. Shikuten, Naruto muttered. What is the significance of this scorch release? It was released before my father had any changes and still provided me with the best guidance from Suna, Gaara explained calmly, not wanting to disclose specifics about the assassination attempts. I'm not entirely sure what Pakura-sensei would do, considering my age of 6, but I believe my father would not consider hiring someone who wasn't able to handle my. Kankuro recollected, Pakuru, I heard that name. Wasn't she the one who was killed in that ambush by Kiri? Gaara asked. Temari suggested that Baki-sensei could provide additional information. In order to combine two types of chakra, one must have a complete understanding of each element first. To tell the truth, you have a lot to learn in futon. Naruto stated that he would receive additional training on chakra control, but was not impressed by the prospect of it. You can learn some tricks to control your impulses, Temari joked. During my stay here, I will impart to you all the knowledge and skills that I can offer. Kankuro was on the verge of falling off his seat when he heard his sister propose to her. Temari, you cannot be serious. And teach a Konoha shinobi in Suna techniques. It's not a big deal, kid. Secret techniques from Pakura were never passed on to Baki-sensei by any means necessary. Temari stated that repaying him for his actions is the least we can do. Gorai was revived by him, despite the fact that Naruto could have ended Gaara's entire existence. How much damage could be done to Sunagakure and Kankuro? An all-out war cannot be waged against Suna as he is too feeble to survive. To aid in Temari's futon expertise, Gaara cut off his older brother before he could continue. Kankuro expressed his apprehension by saying, "You're insane." "You had already told me that," Gaara said with a dead-eyed tone. "In addition, while we wait for Naruto to figure out a solution for my seal's malfunction, we may opt to do something in return." Hinata inquired about the fix. "Is there still something going on?" she questioned, gazing directly at Naruto for the first time that evening. "I might as well have blown the seal off," Naruto said softly, gesturing. "The Ichibi was sealed by me, but its chakra remained unopened. The seal will eventually become too sensitive to the amount of chakra it holds, even as it slowly accumulates. Karen rebuffed, saying, "That's not good." "Naruto will fix it," Kiba proclaimed. "He is a good Fuinjutsu," said Jiraiya-sama. Oh, I'm not that good," Naruto declared. "I am still learning a lot, but I must learn more. Moreover, I'm not very skilled in Fuinjutsu compared to my other abilities. While practicing Bunshin, I can enhance my seal and also improve my control over the wind chakra. Naruto's Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, which produces solid clones, is the reason why I was so stunned," Hinata explained to Karen. In contrast, the shadow clones can pass their memories on to him when they are erased, as opposed to ordinary relics. "The backlash is a minor issue, but it's not bad," Naruto declared. "Language," Ako informed him. "It's best to avoid engaging in any imprudent behavior this time around. I was directed by Hitomi-sama to observe you, and I am committed to doing so. In the same way, I will confine a certain cat if I uncover her involvement in Konohamaru's misfortune." Gaara raised an eyebrow that was not present. Is this the same individual who was discussing the possibility of changing the world? His fallen clansmen's bodies, as well as those of his friends and family, were everywhere. Why did this happen? Who could have thought of it? "Father! Mother!" a child shouted, his little legs carrying him ran towards his house. As the boy drew near to the living room door, his body temperature reached freezing. "Sasuke, don't enter," he was told by his father. The boy was unable to walk or speak. His body wouldn't react to any stimuli, regardless of how much he wanted to. Then, he heard a thump that appeared to drop to the ground, followed by the sound of an unidentified person's rattle. He was aware that the sound would always haunt him wherever he traveled. It took Uchiha Sasuke a few minutes to gain the courage to unlock the doors. His world seemed to crumble as he saw his mother dead on the ground and his father's body lying on top. The man in the center of the room was Sasuke's top focus, despite reports of bloodstains and fighting. Sasuke observed the man who had murdered his parents while mutilated. He screamed and wept at his brother. "The reason behind your actions was to do this, what could it be? You should have known better, little brother." Panting and sweating in the bath, Uchiha Sasuke woke up in his apartment. "Itachi!" He gasped in disbelief. Even after all this time, Sasuke still couldn't make sense of it. Why did he feel his brother was not respecting his family? "I'll pay for your burial. I will make you suffer for every Uchiha life you have taken away that night," he declared in the dimly lit room. A cat, disturbed from his sleep, meowed and yelled out to voice its frustration. Sasuke expressed an unintelligible grumble to his back and attempted to rest for a second, but was unable to do so. He was haunted by the fact that his older brother snatched all of his possessions. Despite his weakness, he couldn't pardon himself for being too weak to stop Itachi. He was still hurt by the arguments of Kakashi, as Jonin explained how Naruto and Nara had earned their promotions while Sasuke was not. Sasuke's lack of strength left him feeling frustrated. He lacked the necessary authority. Itachi had been much stronger than him when he was of his age in terms of authority. Sasuke was aware that he needed to find a way to increase his strength. The phrase, vengeance, refers to the avalanche. He would find a way to become stronger even at the expense of everything else. Naruto's initial objective would be to eliminate the restrictive barrier surrounding his new power source. Despite being wounded by the thing, Sasuke was haunted by his inability to forget the incredible power it had granted him in the Forest of Death. Itachi's power was comparable to its own. "When you come across me, I'll reveal the depth of my hatred when I see you, sir." Another person in the same area had trouble falling asleep, but not far away. Hinata asked herself, "What did I do?" repeatedly. Despite being in front of everyone, she still felt panicked and had lost her composure when she was introduced to Naruto. If I had known about Karen's connection to Naruto-kun, how could I have justified my anger to him? The young Hyuga sighed. Although she loathed the way people looked at Naruto, part of herself confessed that it gave her an advantage, having no one to compete against. She had observed how some girls acted to attract the attention of the boy they were in love with. The more girls that were chasing after a single boy, the more courageous they would become. She savored her food. I had the feeling that Karen would take Naruto-kun's life, even if it weren't quite right, said one of the survivors. She confessed to feeling jealous. Hinata was cognizant of the fact that they were experiencing a shift. Hinata was happy that Naruto finally had the recognition he deserved after defeating Gaara in front of everyone, but she also knew that it would attract more people to him. Her concern was heightened because he had divulged his knowledge of the Kyuubi to their peers, which made her uneasy. The fact that they responded positively to it made Hinata extremely happy, as it had a significant impact on Naruto's life. She was irritated by the fact that more people were aware of the real Naruto, and she tried to suppress her jealousy. She was apprehensive after witnessing Tenten's reaction, as they were always very close in their relationship. Hinata was aware that Naruto could comprehend the discrimination faced by her cousin's teammate for not belonging to any particular clan. Hinata's desire for a more natural and confident interaction with Naruto, as she did with Tenten, was still present. A new danger arose from an unexpected corner. The Hyuga was bothered by Ino's reaction upon learning that Naruto had captured the Kyuubi, despite her being one of the most passionate fangirls and chasing Sasuke. The Yamanaka seemed to take great pride in the fact that Naruto had been mistreated as a Jinchuriki, which meant they treated him very poorly. Tenten is significantly more talented than me, and Ino-chan is always charming and self-assured. I'm too ordinary for her and Tenten-san. Hinata's mind was filled with despair as she realized that she had no skills or qualities to challenge girls like her. Despite feeling more and more in need of help, Hinata was uncertain about how to reveal her true feelings towards Naruto. She was unsure of how to tell him initially, disregarding the question of whether or not it was appropriate to confess. She pondered, would it be wise to end our friendship? If I were to reveal my emotions, would Gaara reject the idea and risk damaging our friendship? Moreover, Naruto's sleeplessness was unexpected. Yeah. I'm too tired to sleep, I don't know why, Naruto stated. He whispered, "Mount of a moon," as he looked up. Gaara gazed at the moon and briefly smiled. Shikaku was prone to violent moods whenever it was full moon, and I have struggled with sleeping on time for years. Gaara observed that there was a sensation of irritation caused by the moon, as she recounted. It's been more than a year, but I can't look at the moon because I'm worried I might lose my grip. As Gaara observed, I'm taken aback by this, she stated. I didn't realize that it was the Kyuubi, Naruto said with a smile. I'll be away for an hour or so be cautious. Naruto asked, what's the reason, and then blinked. You may face the prospect of being attacked by Kankuro or Temari. Gaara, are you not part of the same family? Gaara nodded as she put her fingers to the ground. I think I was never in a state of denial about my feelings. Although I didn't know it. It's clear that Temari articulated her viewpoint clearly. Gaara responded with a tearful response, noting that Shikaku has lost his ability to speak up. I was given a new life only by your gift. Subsequently, you assigned me a fresh objective. Naruto's expression was, no. Is it your turn to leave that you've informed your Umbu guard? He asked. I'd prefer to be circumspect. Just because he has pledged loyalty to the Hokage does not mean that I will trust him entirely. Konoha is my business partner, and I'll keep his promise to him. I'll be back in a few days. If anything disturbs the barriers, I will be able to alert you immediately. Gaara observed the jubilation of his fellow Jinchuriki as they flew across the rooftops. His new aversion to the moon would suggest that Kyuubi's power is on the rise, and he is aware of this due to his habit of not discussing it. Gaara lowered her head and gazed upwards. He had faith in Naruto's abilities. Shikaku's agitation could be felt by Gaara, even within the confines of the new seal. Gaara was unsure of the reason behind the moon's intense agitation, so he went inside to investigate. He had been unable to sleep for years and found it quite addictive, but now he can finally do it. The process of entering was quite effortless. Naruto admitted to being slightly surprised that there were no additional guards on duty. Although I am aware of the Hyuga's inclinations and its binding seals, it shouldn't come as a complete surprise. Despite the distance, he acknowledged that it was his home turf. While Neji was sleeping, Naruto slapped him on the head and said, "Yo, sunshine." The latter didn't find the latter amusing enough. Neji's movements led him to sit on his bed, facing Naruto in the lone chair in an empty cell. "It depends," Naruto said, gesturing to the Hyuga with a smirk. "Now is the time to take action." "Put my feet on the ground and forget about me," Neji muttered. "Hinata, I assured you that I wouldn't kill you in the finals. The finals are over, but you are still alive. If I were to kill you now, I would not have to violate my word technically, but in a practical sense, it wouldn't matter to her at all." Naruto's words, in perfect calmness, conveyed that Hinata would be unable to forgive him if he were to kill him now. "I may still consider it a crime, but if it turns out you're still planning to kill her, I'll keep quiet about it. I would rather hate her than allow you to be a threat to her." Naruto was left stunned by the lack of emotion in Neji's eloquent voice, which made him wonder why he would do such a thing. Explore the significance of this statement. "I acknowledge that you were the perpetrators of the killings and disappearances within our clan, and I have encountered some of them myself. They were particularly effective in preventing Hinata-sama from becoming her successor. Although not all of them, do you think your point was made? You eliminated those who were a threat to Hinata-sama, and those people became dangerous because they saw him as threatening. Why did you say that, Naruto? And I like the kid in the Hyuga prodigy's mind. Hinata-sama is deemed too soft and unenergetic, with the belief that she is too weak to manage our clan. Despite the fact that she is more emotionally powerful than anyone in our clan, people are not afraid to kill her. Had she been weak, she would not have absolved me. If she is willing to forgive someone who hurt me, I doubt she will be bothered by the injustice against the branch house. It's true that it is. I previously stated that she would never want to break the branch. The branch's control over the branch is crucial to the wealth and power of many in the main house, making her a significant threat. The absence of their slaves would diminish the main house's prosperity, and their self-righteous claims about blood power and genetic purity would be discredited. They are likely weaker than the branch, if they did not parasitize from their secret techniques. You have personally shown that the branch is capable of overwhelming the main house. Despite being blind, Neji was unable to use his abilities for any good reason, and she admitted with a somber tone. Hinata is aware of the reason behind your driving. That's why she was able to forgive you. Is it true that Hinata believed in the power of change, and therefore let you be free instead of killing you? Freed. Neji blinked several times. The reason why the elders were unable to revive my caged bird seal was due to your actions. Naruto's response to "bingo" was a mild laugh. I'm curious as to why I did it, and what prompted you to do it in this manner. You desired me to suffer and be rescued. To safeguard Hinata-sama in the compound, you must have companions. Your disbelief in the main house is compounded by the branch's inability to resist the primary due to our seals, so you bailed me out as the answer. At least I'm partially sure, Naruto said with a smile. Alright, I had the intention to reprimand you for the harm you caused Hinata, but it wasn't just about that. The entire village would be informed if I used a less violent approach to remove your clan's valuable seal. The entire strategy of securing the Byakugan would be proven ineffective before anyone else, which could result in a coup within your family. It is a complete misconception that the branch would remain silent if they were released from servitude. Niji whispered that they would compensate the main house. One reason I didn't do it is that it was. The branch's rebellion would result in a severe backlash from the main house. I'm not looking for ways to cause such chaos. It is my belief that Hinata can guide the clan towards a new path, where conflict between the two groups would be non-existent. If the branch only responds with hatred and violence to their misfortunes, would the world still be a better place? I believe you're correct, Niji expressed, appearing hesitant. Not to mention that I would be Konoha's #1 public enemy. I'm not confident in my ability to handle that, at least for now. I am aware that if the Hyuga clan wanted to kill me, I would be in great danger. Naruto sighed and acknowledged the wisdom of never underestimate the power of noble bastards. In terms of safeguarding Hinata, it may be necessary for me to leave the village and dedicate a year or two of my training. You must find a substitute. Why can't you trust me? Niji scowled. I haven't achieved the greatest success yet. Naruto asked, want trust, with a smirk. Do you trust me? Do you know why your head is so painful? Niji shook the aforementioned scratching head in denial. Naruto said, I am a Jinchuriki, Niji gasps. As a child, I was sealed with the Kyubi. The experience of being cursed with a seal on your body is more understandable to me than anyone else. To be a tool rather than an individual, Naruto stated sorrowfully. It's surprising that Hayashi-sama would let me live on clan grounds without showing any value, but unlike Hitomi Samak, who is too easily engrossed in the Hyuga clan traditions, he would sacrifice his family and everything else for his clan. No, but it is not. Naruto revealed that he had to take extreme measures because of the Kyubi's pain. I took your seal and made one last to avoid the main having to put a new seal on you. The chakra I have stored in it will persist for a few years or more. The Hyuga are capable of handling Fuinjutsu well, so I didn't want to take any chances. I have no concern for your well-being, but Hinata is a separate issue. Her life turned out to be a dream come true for me, and she is the first person I've ever met. I knew that if they were able to reattach your seal, you would not be suited to protect Hinata. I employed a small portion of the Kyubi's chakra. The sole person capable of taking off that seal for the next year is myself. With the exception of the brief duration, the drawback of this specific seal is that you may experience a similar sensation when the Kyubi's chakra passes through me. I'm not sure what you're saying. This is a constant experience for you every time you. My guardians were talking about your victory over Gaara. It didn't make sense to me what they were talking about, but now it all makes sense. By utilizing the Kyubi's strength, you were able to vanquish him. According to both accounts, yes. I experienced the same agony, but in my case, the Kyubi also provides me with relief as it doesn't want me to die presently. If I were to use it against Gaara, he would be considered a Jinchuriki who also has the Ichibi in his body. Without relying on the Kyubi's strength, I couldn't defeat him. Niji recollected that they recognized each other in the first phase of the exams. Alright, I can assure you that it is. Being a person, it's quite effortless to notice the others. Do you have any plans to protect Hinata? Niji asked with a frown. There is no evidence to suggest that Naruto is lying, according to the source. The true Uzumaki Naruto, who kept himself concealed from our clan, would be this person. Based on his words and actions, I am confident that Naruto would kill me without hesitation if I refused or tried to deceive him. What was the reason for my refusal? My father believed that killing Hinata-sama would enhance the branch's status. Did my father tell me the truth or was he just as delusional as I am? I have no grounds to harm Hinata-sama, he said. It is accurate to say that Hinata-sama is the only person in the main house who could make a difference for the branch. My own desires would be compromised if I were to hurt her. Naruto nodded as he spoke. You answered my questions without attempting to mislead me. You outperform the other Hyuga, but you didn't address my question. Don't try to dodge my questions. Yes, of course. Niji stated that he would be responsible for guarding Hinata-sama. The reason behind her being chosen is not due to you forcibly enforcing my hand, but rather because she represents the most favorable outcome for my clan's future, our exclusive route to freedom. I will make certain that she assumes the role of the next leader of our clan. I didn't mean to compel you to agree, Niji, Naruto said. In the event that you had not fulfilled your obligation or betrayal of Hinata, I would not have reinstated the seal. I released you, but it's your call to not let go and decide if you want to keep doing so. I'm not concerned about your well-being. Hinata is the reason for your death. You are the first person to target Hinata and you live in. Regarding the upcoming trial, I will be there to assist you wherever possible. Due to my absence as Hyuga and lack of influence, I will inform Hitomi-sama about our agreement. She wants to keep Hinata safe, just like I do. The main house cannot easily be touched by Hayashi-sama, who is married to him. Unlike Hinata, Hitomi-sama is too strong to be easily assassinated with. Hinata is not weak, nor do I think so, but she isn't ready to fight Chunin or Jonin-level opponents. I have faith in you to carry on Hinata's legacy while I remain absent. Let me tell you one thing, I don't want to regret this. If you cause harm to Hinata, the main house will be the least of your worries. After seeing nothing but the blonde woman's casually warning that he would kill him if unable to do so, Niji was completely shocked. The Jinchuriki contained only a handful of killing intent, which may explain why Naruto left. In the event that Hinata survived the trial, Niji would serve as his guard. Niji was deemed by Naruto to be the most suitable person for the job, even though there were other members of the branch who could fill this role. Unlike their counterparts, Niji would not be suspected by the main house. Due to his obvious hatred towards Hinata, he would be the last person they would suspect of protecting. Niji may have the potential to become Hinata's brother once his time is up. Naruto contemplated while snooping through the compound to inspect the sealing rings he had left on Hizashi's detention center. After leaving the compound, Naruto returned to his new home and greeted his friends and sister with a smile, contentedly returning to their former selves. Taiyuya, stop whining and let this be your complaint. Sakan, shut up. Yukon shouted at him. Kitamaro yelled, guys. End it. This is not going anywhere. Having received our orders, we proceeded with the task at hand. Taiyuya, it seems like there is no new information on that, so please refrain from squeezing your fingers. Jirobo said, let's have something to eat first. You pig, you need to get any fatter, Taiyuya joked. The four individuals, including Yukon and Sakan, cannot be considered a functional team by an onlooker who is attentive. It is true that these four only work together effectively during missions. The four aristocratic guards of Orochimaru had nothing in common except for the cloth tunics they wore and their contempt for others. Their teamwork was based solely on their shared dislike for one another. Had they not been prevented from doing so by their master, the four would have turned against each other. Nevertheless, these four were somewhat peculiar. Despite being known for his politeness, Jirobo was lazy when it came to eating. Like his counterpart, Kidamaru didn't take anything seriously, but unlike the sloth, he treated everything as a game. Sakan and Yukon were both annoyed by this. The two brothers were the most stubborn among them all, but their loyalty was unmistakable. Orochimaru was driven by that quality to appoint them as the leader of their unstable small team, which was partly due to their loyalty and strength. Kimimaro wasn't present, but the two of them were unquestionably the most powerful among the Sound Four when they combined. Taiyuya has the potential to outmatch Sakan and Yukon on their own. The Kunoichi, with their long, wild red hair, had a strong dislike for everyone, including Orochimaru, which led to Kazu and Kabuto frequently questioning whether she was trustworthy. Despite her doubts, Kenta found humor in her lack of loyalty. After a period of silence, Taiyuya couldn't help but complain again. What makes the snake so enticed by that Uchiha faggot? Sakan inquired, next body. Boner's illness caused him to become agitated, Taiyuya quipped. I'm curious as to why the snake didn't take the crystal bite. For how much longer will you hold that grudge? As long as the person I have against their fucktastic parents, who sold me to that repulsive snake, Taiyuya growled. Once that garbage is gone, my resentment will fade away. If you continue to talk like that, Kadamura chuckled, she said. He admits that the Sharingan is more intriguing to him than the Shotan thing of the stuck-up bitch. Kenta is in good hands since she smashed his blade, and he has always wanted to kill that garbage object. I'd rather not be his slave, Taiyuya muttered. She is always complaining about her unwavering loyalty, so let that little voice prevail. Kenta, who is a cruel and selfish person, has the ability to end her life for my own gain. Jirobo expressed that Guren wouldn't be easily eliminated, despite not being marked. Kadamura scowled at him, are you telling the truth? The man who had a fight with her was so brutal that he would kill her before she even realized what was happening. What is your reasoning for Orochimaru-sama giving him almost every possible assassination attempt? Even if she could win in a duel with Kenta-sensei, she wouldn't survive long unless she was killed. Taiyuya's sigh reached as far as his head. It doesn't matter what you decide on. It's insignificant. We're all trapped in this pit of confusion. Can you suggest any other locations where we can take the fucking seal and potentially eliminate some treehuggers to alleviate boredom? Despite the fact that we were told to avoid the blonde kid by the snake, I'm left wondering why. He fucked up the Jinchuriki we used against Konoha, Sakan said in a muttered voice. Let's stick to the choices made and proceed as discussed. We will be arriving at the outskirts of Konoha tomorrow and will shift shifts, starting with our target. With the Trash's timetable in mind, we decide on a meeting spot and assess whether he would like to join us or if we have to use force. Let Taiyuya decide if I can send my doki and drag it along, she asks. Orochimaru-sama has expressed his desire for the Uchiha brat to come along on his own, Sakan declared. Now is the time to go to sleep and shut up. The first shift is scheduled for tomorrow, and if you don't do it correctly, I will kill you personally. Naruto's departure from the Hyuga compound left him with a sense of uncertainty about his past behavior. It's possible that Hinata is correct, according to some sources. Perhaps taking someone's life is not the answer. The same idea that the world is a product of hatred was also discussed by Jiraiya. Is my role as a judge and executioner dependent on my sense of personal bias? Naruto contemplated the moon and wondered if he had not made a dreadful mistake by taking the life of so many people. He was troubled by his doubts and agitated throughout the night. I'm curious as to why the fox has not spoken yet. He has never been quiet for that long, and Naruto sighed. I'm questioning why I even consider listening to the fox, who seems unintelligent and only interested in himself. I aimed to make a positive impact on the world, but what justifies my ability to do so? Although I sentenced individuals to death for their actions, I always chose to ignore the root cause. What was the reason behind their actions and what did they hope to achieve? If I had complete knowledge of the whole situation, I might be able to prevent it from happening. Konoha grants the Hyuga clan unrestricted freedom. Naruto expressed his dissatisfaction with Jisan's decision to enslave their own family with the cruel and imprisoned bird seal. Each time he came across an answer, it was only another question. Alright, let's move forward. Once again, those two foolish men are lurking around. Why didn't they learn their lesson when Yamato sent them back? Many people were unable to sleep during the night. A certain young Nara outside Konoha was possibly the most unexpected person on the list of people who were unable to sleep due to a mission. The team was summoned just before midnight to investigate a theft case near Konoha, and Shikamaru showed no enthusiasm towards it. Shikamaru expressed feeling troubled by his inability to sleep and the belief that it was a good day. He had evaded his mother and found a place in the Nara compound where he could rest peacefully for all sorts of troublesome tasks. If I'm only getting half a day of sleep, why am I not sleeping at all? Geez. Shikamaru sighed and turned his back to try and get a better position in his sleeping bag. That Naruto. During the exams, it became evident to me that he was hiding something significant. Despite everything, how did the Kyuubi manage to survive? It's hard to imagine living in a village where everyone hates you for having such an aspect of yourself. Even though you never intended to have it in the first place. The most absurd thing, isn't it? It's likely the most arduous task since the inception of coffee. Shikamaru was overheard muttering something in her tent, as if Ino wanted to prove that she could not remain silent for too long. However, Naruto is also a problematic person in his own right. Despite being less troublesome than his mom, he is definitely an A-ranked pest. To put it simply, he is deeply entrenched in mystery. I'm not sure if his true identity is known or not. It's possible that Hinata knows, but she won't talk about him. Konoha is now cognizant of his true power, and his position as Jinchuriki has been made public. I'm sure he would have found a way to stay hidden if it were possible. However, he was not. I am curious about what he might be up to. I'll make an effort to see him soon, as I promised. Discovering what he is doing could be a worthwhile pursuit. Naruto was displeased when he arrived at the estate that would eventually become his residence. He had observed the two approaching each other and they had unintentionally set fire to the seals he had installed around the perimeter. There was a limit to Naruto's patience. Especially on nights like these. Naruto's response, "You can't hide now," was a grunting. "Let's go out and get some rest. I'm not prepared for this nonsense." Two men, one shorter and the other tall, emerged from the darkness. The appearance of the flak jackets that Naruto observed indicated that the two were the same Chunin who had tried to bother him earlier, as evidenced by their distinctive features. Great. I'm experiencing a headache and two numbskulls after thinking about it. What was the reason for selecting this particular night? "Shut up, you filthy beast," shouted the tallest Chunin. The other person instructed him to relax. He coldly stated, "We've come to put an end to yours and the other monsters' lives." Naruto's bored tone was conveyed by saying, yeah, in response to the question. "I'm standing by to ensure the safety of Gaara. I have no intention of sacrificing my life. Don't let it affect anything as you piss one off. It would be nice if all the killings could be stopped altogether." The tallest Chunin asked, "Will you be killed?" with a sarcastic response. "Your demonic powers are nothing more than a greenhorn and no shinobi for an entire year." Naruto's response to you was, "You two Chunin are worth killing, don't you think? You have to decide between spitting or dying, the decision." He snuck up behind him and proceeded to move forward. This was a momentous occasion for him. The person he was married to had already passed away. His sibling has passed away. The youngest of his cousins, who had just been promoted from the academy, was unfortunate enough to be caught up in the onslaught. On that very day, almost everyone he loved perished. The attack by a demon on Konohagakure resulted in the death of all those victims. Witnessing the manifestation of the sinister creature during an examination he should have avoided only served to ease the burning pain in his chest. He had the opportunity to seek revenge on his family. The man's mask concealed his facial expression, but he still managed to smile without looking. The two cockatoos were the perfect distraction. He unshone his sword and proceeded to move forward. He never expected his target to be like him. It wasn't until it was too late that the monster reacted, as it had not previously done. Before the monster could even get away, his sword pierced its chest. Hissing, "I am ready to defend you, Uzumaki," the Umbu said, pulling his sword back from Naruto's helmet. As Naruto's blood trickled down his face, he exclaimed, "What a great honor to have the allegiance of an Umbu." His clothes were soaked with warm blood as it billowed down. He eluded any form of pain. He hardly felt anything other than the feeling of numbness that spread, as if his consciousness was obscured by a dark cloud. The words, "shit, not good." Naruto was laughing at his fate when a familiar voice emerged and caused him to lose his footing. The two Chunin were frozen as the Jinchuriki collapsed in front of them. "What the?" was uttered by the smaller one as they started talking. They were taken aback as the Umbu, who had stolen Naruto's sword from his chest, cleaned it. "You're both looking for a way to get rid of the other creature, right?" the Umbu asked. "Alright, the creature is currently weakened, so give it your best shot. He won't have a chance if you act fast enough." Gaara was agitated. He had finally slept peacefully since the finals, without being plagued by Shikaku's corruption. Shikaku appeared to be in a state of panic, but the new seal left him powerless. Gaara observed the disintegration of his gourd, despite not having given any specific instructions for it. He was ensnared by the swirling sand as it rose up around him. Trying to create a shield, even though it was merely satirical language of his usual defense, Gaara. "What is happening here?" he murmured. All of a sudden, something started to flow through him. It appeared as if a massive chakra pulse was moving through the vicinity. As Gaara responded, the sand solidified and she felt something familiar. Anxiety is a significant factor in many people's lives. A profound and completely irrational fear. Gaara was fully cognizant of the cause. He had never been so scared on the day he faced Naruto. On that day, he had his first experience with the Kyubi no Kitsune's infinite power. The previous time was a far cry from the murderous and visceral attacks that emanated pure malice. "This is terrible," Gaara admitted, grimacing as Shikaku screamed inside him. As the orange chakra was rising around his victim, the Umbu stepped back. "Although Naruto had never died, it was the demon that I killed by stabbing it through the heart." The boy's throat erupted as he laughed deeply at the three, with no human voice to match. The two Chunin trespassers were unaware of the situation until it was too late. After accepting the Umbu's invitation, the foolish individuals hurried into the house and killed Gaara. Naruto had started laughing at that point, and they were too close to each other. The realization dawned on them that Naruto was not as lifeless as they had hoped. "I'll give my thanks to the puny monkeys," Naruto joked. The chakra's flow was accelerating to an astonishing level. "I finally get a chance to control this stupid guy after he got knocked out," feeling liberated. The three men were frightened by the demonic laughter that permeated their bodies. "It's been years since I finally got to enjoy myself in this little grotto that you call your village. Would it be appropriate for me to finish a project I started in the past? I might choose to do it without any preconditions." The taller Chunin turned around, aware of the danger they were facing, and wanted to flee. The chakra levels were already higher than the customary Jonin levels and were continuing to increase without any indication of being nearing the boy's limit. He wished to remain on bail until he had the chance to do so. The invasion of Sunagakure caused him and his partner to lose loved ones, but he was not prepared to risk his own life against a monster like the one they had met. He didn't want to die, so he sought his revenge. It was already too late for them to be able to make it. Naruto's body was enveloped in the first tail, which was formed by a bubbling chakra. The Kyubi smirked and said, "Wait, it's time to depart." The chakra levels exploded out of nowhere in a sudden surge. Konoha would be sorry if he had allowed him to spend so much time in jail. Each and every one of them. I will kill all of them. The shinobi in the village were awakened by the sudden burst of chakra that had pierced through Konoha. Each person in the village sensed the oppressive and evil atmosphere that was sweeping through the countryside. One of them, Jiraiya, was the first to identify what had gone awry and quickly drove over the rooftops to the source of the disturbance. While cursing, he may have caused his godson's loss of control. It's not as if he was the first person to go there. While gazing at the sky, a blonde woman turned and heard her partner's warning. She was aware that Konoha could be ruined if she didn't move quickly. Upon awakening, Hinata was startled by the sudden appearance of a nearby chakra and expressed gratitude to Kami for saving her life. She grabbed her clothes and quickly left, only to find Kenkuro startled and Temari occupied with soothing Gaara. Despite the fact that his sand kept floating up, it collapsed repeatedly due to lack of control. Naruto, Gaara muttered repeatedly, his eyes wide open, and he didn't seem to notice the others in his room. Hinata, it seems that something is happening with Naruto, Kiba cautioned. Where's the Umbu guy? Karen inquired, but then responded with, I can't find him. The chakra emanated from her brother in such a way that it overwhelmed her. I wish that the weakling that incarcerates me had not trouble with pitiful humans like you, but I am skeptical. He should have realized how useless that was. Heh, but I suppose using his methods to kill you would be appropriate, whispered the deep voice. Renkuden in Futon is a term used to describe the same game. By using Naruto's chakra instead of his own, the Kyuubi launched 2 massive rounds of wind chakra that penetrated and ripped the chests of Chunin. The shorter person had just stood there frozen in fear and was killed instantly. The shorter of the 2 individuals was hit in the back and died as if he were a cowardly figure trying to escape. Then Naruto turned around, his crimson eyes staring at the Umbu. Despite the lack of slaughter, there were still more deaths to come. Not in a significant way. The Kyuubi were starting to feel frustrated as Naruto's body had already developed a second tail and was building up its potential. Due to the seal's limiting of chakra, the demon believed that developing a 4th tail would be highly unlikely. Even so, the boy was able to resist. Despite the chakra that Naruto had used, the Kyuubi still found that he had not done enough damage to the seal. The seal was thought to have been damaged, but it appears that I once again underestimated the distorted seal caused by the blonde problem. The Kyuubi were aware that he could use a more aggressive technique to force additional chakra through it, but they knew that it would result in the seal being completely destroyed. I might have a go at that one, she said. Nonetheless, it would result in the demise of the brat, and there is still ample time before I could escape. It would be too much to ask for death now. I have been waiting almost a century for my freedom, so it shouldn't matter if it took another few weeks or months. Yondaime was so skilled at Fuinjutsu that she had to educate him extensively. Why did the Umbu start to tremble in shock when they saw the 3rd tail being released? The man was aware of the outcome. The boy's chakra reserves were comparable to those of the Hokage, despite his lack of control. It was easily enough to cause any full-fledged Jonin to retreat in fear. The Umbu cursed, why can't that crazed person die when I forcefully ran through his heart, and then he turned to run away. I should have never thought about it, the Kyuubi declared after witnessing the man who freed him flee. His face lit up with joy as a result of its presence. The prey proved to be a more enjoyable game when they attempted to escape. The act was so fruitless that they never fully grasped its inadequacy. He used a crimson chakra claw to hold the Umbu by his head. I would like to express my gratitude to you for providing me with these moments of liberation, the Kyuubi said. To satisfy my debt, I will not engage in as much physical contact with you as I could, and I plan to kill you promptly. The Umbu's life was squeezed out by the claw as it pulled at his head. The Kyuubi was only amused by the blood flow from the skull's collapse, but he required more blood to satisfy his fury. The look on his face grew wide as he saw 2 people and 1 dog approaching. His vessel was the most likely target for his destruction, as he had individuals to destroy and his ship in pieces. The demon was aware that if he caused the boy to be broken indefinitely, his freedom would be in danger, especially a white-eyed girl. The blonde's stare at him made the Kyuubi look disdainful with her black eyes. With his eyes wide open, the Kyuubi heard her vessel approach him and said, "Good day, little sister. You showed up much sooner than you anticipated." Yujito's expression changed to one of disdain. You didn't bother to look after this pitiful host, did you? It's a stroke of luck that I am still alive, Konohagakure. You find him to be a fascinating man, right? That's why you responded so quickly. I couldn't sleep, Yujito murmured, as if she had lost all motivation. Despite her detestable confession, she was never able to sleep during this time of the month. She was frequently envious of her fellow Jinchuriki in Kumagakuro, who showed no signs of being concerned. It's possible that his foolishness is also the reason. Sir, your puny human villages are not in a friendly relationship, don't you think we can unite and eliminate these pests together? Kyubi asked. Hinata and Kiba were terrified, but Karen didn't fully grasp the situation. What's the story? Whereabouts Naruto Nizan? Good, Kyubi replied, taking notice of the Uzumaki. This is the only peril I have to face, and it's here as well. It would be better for me to kill you first and ensure that I never have to endure another one of your irritating Uzumaki encounters. It's safe to say that I was not at all taken aback by your arrival, girl. As he progressed, Yujito made a swift move between the Kyubi and their children to prevent him from continuing on. Kyubi, halt this, please. Your attempt to flee is futile, it's worthless. The Kyubi quipped, do you have any jealousy in me? Yujito patiently stated that he didn't like the demon who ignored her and spoke to the Nibi, but acknowledged that without the boy's cooperation, his strength was already reduced. It is likely that a more proficient Jonin would be able to defeat you with equal skill when you are in this form. I am not willing to take any risk. Despite the odds, if you manage to escape from the seal, I doubt I could beat you. The Kyubi chuckled, why are you so quiet? I share your hatred for these pitiful humans, and I can detect it with clarity. Yujito expressed his gratitude to Jiraiya-sama, stating that they are not interested in helping him after witnessing him kill so many people. Kyubi, I will halt your journey. TSK. You were the same troublesome little sister that I remember from those centuries, exclaimed the Kyubi, turning away from the children and facing her. Yujito had been keeping an eye out for him, as she was aware that he wouldn't attempt to harm the children due to his fear of it becoming too aggressive. Without any prior indication, the Kyubi burst into action, delivering a massive shockwave that was intended for his adversary. Yujito's gaze widened as the shockwave struck her. It hurled her away, as well as the walls and most of the vegetation. A permanent scar 150 feet deep would be left in the Uchiha district. After being blasted through a wall, Yujito was forced to remove more of the Nibi's chakra to prevent further damage. Konoha should not consider it a warlike act, and Reikage-sama would not be willing to permit me to initiate conflict between their villages. It's a good thing that cats have 9 lives, Yujito shouted, as she cleared rocks from the ground. It's about time we stop being nice, right? Kitten, be mindful that the Kyubi's ability to send shockwaves can hinder our firework skills, Nibi cautioned. He is not only invincible, he can also endure it. Although my brother never put his mind to the fire element, he always had a preference for it. Yujito replied with a simple, that's fine, but what should his next move be? We are all stronger than one. Uzumaki-san is still attempting to overthrow the Kyubi, and I can sense his determination. I am unaware of how long Uzumaki-san will be able to sustain his resistance, as his power is rapidly diminishing. Consequently, conquer the Kyubi and accelerate their advance. Refrain from engaging in reckless activities, as playing around could lead the Kyubi to take a chance and cause damage to the seal. My brother was never a very patient person. Yujito's expression was grimacing. If that were to occur, we would be powerless to stop him. I can sense it, she said. Alright, let's go with the first draft. Yujito's roar was not as strong as the Kyubi, but it produced a surge of chakra that was just as powerful as those felt by the latter in its 3-tailed form. Although her cloak had 2 tails and she was covered in a light blue chakra that bubbled like the Kyubi's orange chakra. The fact that her control was much superior to her raw power meant that Yujito didn't have to be stronger. Furthermore, she was a superior shinobi compared to Naruto, who had far less experience than him. Nonetheless, she wasn't smart enough to think that a basic chakra shield would be sufficient to subdue the Kyubishi without much difficulty. The Kyubi's possessed son was so powerful that Yujito knew she would either have to take him seriously or face the death penalty. The Nibi had warned her that Naruto would not be able to hold the Kyubi captive indefinitely. It would be unwise to play around, regardless of her current level of strength, even if it contradicted her natural behavior. If the Kyubi became angry, it would attempt to break the seal and escape, but Yujito had no intention of allowing the boy to die. His performance in the past had caused her to be somewhat enamored with him. Might it be that he was the perfect person to bring about positive change in the world? He has more potential than B, and his previous actions suggest that neither of them are as foolish. However, intelligence is not essential when considering the power of a two-way street fighter like him. Yujito's interception caused the Kyubi to growl out in frustration. Her speed was much faster than his, and it would be impossible to reach the frozen 3 genin as he watched him take control of his prison body. Yujito was aware of the Kyubi's intention, so he had to break their throats before playing with kits. She had to keep him away from those genitalia. The Kyubi was blown over by the strike, hitting a building across the street. Tsunade wrathed, "This night was the second time we destroyed it, and I'm confident it won't be the last one," in a stark reminder. She remained somewhat weary, the pressure from the sake she had just drunk still hindered her as she raced across the rooftops of Konoha. Jiraiya and Shizune had a quick meeting, but he missed the opportunity to greet his former teammate due to his worries. "Naruto," he quipped, while the trio witnessed an explosion on the fringes of the Uchiha district. "We must accelerate our approach to reduce delays." It appears that Yujito is already present to halt him. The sight of her teammate picking up his pace left Tsunade unable to help but blink. "I say, damn it. I used to be on par with Jiraiya's speed. I'm feeling uninspired and need to start exercising." "He's recuperating much more rapidly than I anticipated," Yujito muttered, while watching the Kyubi emerge from a now shattered structure and contemplating her options. He was left with no response despite her demonstrated superior power and chakra control, as she had been smashing him around like a battered man for the last few minutes before setting him on fire. Despite her sharp claws having only scratched him, he would stand up as if nothing had happened when she tried to remove him. The impact and power of the crater surrounding him were evident, but it didn't affect him in any way. "The Kyubi's strength surpasses yours, according to Nibi. His durability is undeniable. While Naruto may be able to take it, the Kyubi's lack of chakra drain results in being less fortunate." Nibi stated that even if his brother manages to heal his body quickly, the damage will be significant. The difficulty of transitioning to higher stages initially makes it unsuitable for humans to undergo continuous healing cycles. Yujito sighed. "It seems impractical for me to proceed until I am in version 2. Patience, kitten, patience. Retain him without hesitation. The question remains unanswered. Is it impossible to detect his approach? And is he being trailed by others?" Ni-san. Karen was frightened by the chakra she sensed, and she stood there in fear. Kiba appeared to calm down and acknowledge his fear by saying, "We must get inside. It's time to inform everyone and evacuate." Yujito's reaction equaled that of the two women, and they could flatten the entire district. Hinata remained silent and shook her head. Leaving Naruto behind was not an option for her. The Kyubi were irritated and expressed their desire to win Naruto-kun while holding back. Gradually, his little sister's container had been gnawing at his strength. She had transitioned from the translucent red cloak with chakra to the dark red form of release, and her power was too much for him to handle. The two-tailed cat's physical form overwhelmed him. "Is it advisable to take the risk and sacrifice this pitiful boy, or should I give him another chance?" expressed the Kyubi. "He is not as bad as the two before him. Despite his recklessness. Before I was trapped inside them, they both had a chance to develop independently." His thoughts were halted as Yujito used an earth-shaking force to push him down. With a grimace on his teeth, the Kyuubi quickly forced the boy's body to heal. The kit's body is not designed to endure such damage for an extended period. What should I do? There is a time when my irritating sister can take me down, even if I don't want to. My full power will not be available to me right away, as that was the same thing that officiously named Red Hair used years ago. Despite his efforts to escape from his sister, the Kyuubi was too strong for her. The toad is about to be encountered. It's up to me to make a decision. Breaking free will result in losing and being trapped once more. The appearance of the girl was a stroke of luck as she couldn't survive, unlike Uzumaki. What the hell is happening here, Jiraiya? She questioned. Yujito uttered the words, "The Kyuubi happened," in his defense, with a sharp tone. The woman's exhaustion caused Tsunade to frown. In order to evict him, we had to take extreme measures. He was easily defeated in version 2, but it was a difficult task. Tsunade, I'm hoping you can lend a hand in patching up. Jiraiya muttered, "At least you're sober." Tsunade urged Shizune to bring Hinata and Kiba inside, while she encouraged Karen to come forward. She asked her former teammate, what happened to him, again. Yujito explained that he had put Naruto to sleep and allowed Jiraiya-sama to use his time to suppress the Kyuubi's chakra. What is the explanation for this statement? The seal appears to be in a state of damage. According to Jiraiya, Naruto should not have lost control due to the damage caused. The anxious tone disturbed Tsunade. After conducting her investigation, she discovered that Naruto was relatively unscathed despite the seal breaking. He has a quick recovery, and his body is doing great, she said. He can expect to be fine within a few days. The most significant aspect, aside from the damage he inflicted on his chakra systems, is exhaustion. The lone irregularity. I'd assume he's had a serious injury, but I didn't know better, she said as she looked at Yujito. Did you strike him in the chest? Don't look at me, Yujito muttered. I merely restrained him and blocked the Kyuubi's chakra. I refrained from inflicting harm upon him. At least not in a serious way. The scratches on his left shoulder could have been serious, but I didn't want to cause any harm. I am aware that if I were to kill Konoha's Jinchuriki, it would result in a war. While Temari and Kankuro watched as Kiba, Akamaru, and Hinata entered Gaara's room, the latter looking completely frantic. Naruto, the Kyuubi erupted, Kiba whispered silently. He is doing fine now. Gaara's response to others' statements was a first-time occurrence. I experienced a sense of anger and bloodlust. As she walked in, Shizune spoke matter-of-factly about how Shikaku managed to keep his seal intact. Yondaime-sama's seal was so potent that it remained on Naruto even after he imprisoned the Kyuubi. It appears that there are some explanations for the situation, even if it is not entirely rational. Yujito-sama expressed doubt about Naruto's ability to survive after stating that only a fraction had occurred. In order to conceal his own concern, Kiba bragged that he was certain. You could tell that he had what it took to be successful in the finals. I'm not taking it personally, he declared, staring at the Sand siblings. It is not as straightforward as that, Shizune sighed. Are our seals aging? Gaara inquired. Shizune stated that the seal could be damaged if the Kyuubi's chakra were used. The seal's decomposition is likely to accelerate as Naruto-kun allows its chakra to move through him at a faster rate. Hearing this made Hinata gasp in unease. Naruto's control of power was deemed worthy of pride, but it soon became apparent that he had only added more difficulties to himself. She comprehended the reason behind their responsibility to safeguard Gaara and his siblings. Due to his knowledge of the ongoing situation, the Hokage held a special place in Naruto's heart and kept him close. Naruto's chakra is something we must prevent him from using, she stated with a determination that surprised Kiba. He himself said it, Gaara muttered, his voice still being somewhat absent. This was the first time Temari had ever seen Gaara in such a way. What kind of monster would the Kyuubi be, to scare her brother. What? Kiba asked boredly as Gaara paused. What did he express? It is our duty to bear this burden. It's something we have to face and accept. Pursue it. Learn to let go of the hurt it brings us. Hinata sighed as she explained how we can become strong enough to confront a Bijou. Naruto made her feel so helpless that she couldn't even offer assistance. Gaara was taken aback by Shizen's statement, this is not just one of the many challenges that you have to face. There are no individuals who can handle everything on their own. When faced with a demon of the same magnitude, both parties require all available assistance. We are not alone, she declared. That's the answer, Temari said with a smile. The old man suggested that you and Naruto should work on building strength, rather than depending on the demon's chakra. We will ensure your safety. Karen aided Tsunade in moving Naruto, so that he could heal the few wounds left on him. Karen had to remove the bloody remnants from her newfound brother's chest because his white shirt had been shredded. Her fear was rooted in her decision to not allow her brother to be hurt. In the past few days, Karen had been assisting Shizen with her medical needs at the hospital. With so many injured, they needed all available assistance, and with Shizen's vouch for her, Karen had done much. The fact that Karen believed she would be removed if she was of no value to Konoha made her happy. The sight of all those who were wounded, a stranger to her, was entirely unlike her brothers. Let him move to the right, Tsunade said, pointing at the redhead. I desire Jiraiya to have a quick solution to resolve the situation. He and Yujito departed to visit the Hokage's family. The late Umbu's body was sealed by Jiraiya, who also entrusted 2 other Chunin that were present for reasons unknown to him. Given that Naruto's wound appeared to have been caused by a blade piercing his chest, Sannin and he had both determined that the entire episode was part of an attempt to put him in danger. The presence of Naruto's blood on the tanto of the Umbu suggested that the latter was responsible for the attack. The Umbu's lack of loyalty was suggested by the inference. Tsunade rebuffed the urge to avoid more severe headaches, as there was already a hangover from eating all the food and drinks consumed. Let's focus on getting this brat up to speed, here. The healing process should begin soon, but the scans suggest that he needs to reduce his use of chakra for a few days. The lone brat has just come out of his misery after confronting the Ichibi. If Jiraiya is correct, the Kyuubi's plan is complete. Naruto Nizan requires some time to recover, Karen remarked. Tsunade and she brought him into a room that Shizen had prepared. Upon their arrival, the two completed the healing of Naruto, who was still in the process of being defeated. Kiba inquired, how is he doing? Is he in good health? Karen asked, referring to Takanade-sama's statement. Nevertheless, she mentioned that he must limit his use of chakra for the time being. Jiraiya-sama would ensure that, as she stated to me. Hinata reported that Naruto-kun was still a bit weaker than he had been during the finals and invasion. Some tenketsu were damaged by the Kyuubi's chakra, which was forced through them. Kiba remarked, it would be nice to have those eyes, and proceeded to say. You didn't say that before? Hinata muttered, her eyes wide open. Despite her concerns, she was too preoccupied to reveal what she saw to anyone else and had been too anxious to think clearly. Karen sighed, he'll have to rest for a few days. I won't let him pass away for the rest of my life. The unannounced Uchiha broke into the house and cut off Karen's message, saying that he had found a new friend. Gaara wondered about the Uchiha's actions towards her clan property, wondering where he could possibly have gone and killed the boy. Sabaku no Gaara did not have a fondness for being surprised, and she did so without any hesitation. With a lack of emotion, he simply said, get out. The tone was so harsh that it made Kankuro appear paler. He was seen with a pale complexion by the rest. He was not wearing his war paint during the night due to it being mid-afternoon. Gaara's use of two tones to indicate his irritability caused him to Pauline. The Ichibi's actions were typically communicated through a voice that was heard seconds before the sand accidentally hit someone. The lack of emotion in this voice was the one that could be interpreted as, "This is your final warning." Everyone who knew Gaara was aware that if he spoke in this manner, it was a signal to flee and run off. Temari was equally knowledgeable about it. Gaara was extremely disappointed when she heard the statement, "Gaara, we can't make any mistake here, do you think it could happen?" He privately acknowledged his self-control and felt a little proud of himself. Ordinarily, the floor was covered with organs and his sand stained with blood. Sasuke was unimpressed by the Sand siblings' small victory in their fight for anger management. Uchiha Sasuke was livid. At first, the Hokage seized one of the bigger houses on his family's land, but it was later damaged beyond repair, and now at least 3 other houses in the vicinity have been destroyed. "I can't find that guy, where is he? He's the one who caused this mess." Karen growled and questioned what you had called his brother. Sasuke chuckled, but didn't pay attention to Karen. However, the commotion did attract the attention of a woman with PTSD who was not fond of hearing people's complaints. It was not difficult to overlook the Sanin's murderous motive. "Brat, what are you up to?" the blonde questioned. "Naruto has no contact with anyone at this moment, so either you wait or find a way to get lost." Sasuke chuckled. "He has to do a lot." Left abandoned buildings, laughs, Tsunade turned on the sound of the word abandoned, but was left cringing in his face by him. Despite knowing for certain why nobody lived there, she couldn't care less at the moment. "If you have any objections to this situation, please contact the Hokage's office. Afterward, he'll cover the cost of the repairs for the DOB." Tsunade yelled out, "Someone else attacked Nasru. It goes like this. Who cares if we repair those buildings in the first place? Let's not dwell on the past, young people. You're not old to be able to handle it. Your attitude is taking over, so please don't stay in." Sasuke, with a grunting voice, turned around and backed away from the situation. "Geez, fuck me," was the expression Karen gave in response to the situation. What was the problem with him? Hinata inquired, stating that the Uchiha clan, who were related to Sasuke-san, resided in the compound while Tsunade watched. "The Uchiha who now lives here is Sasuke-san, and his clan has been annihilated by one of their own. His clan has been capped at this point," as Sakan pointed out. "It seems like the faggot is having trouble with his temper," Taiyuya quipped. "The individual who emitted the chakra was responsible for this destruction," Kadamaru speculated. "Maybe that blonde garbage from the finals was on us, but regardless of who it belonged to, it didn't help that Orochimaru-sama had just told us to stay away because he disturbed my sleep." "He is going to die," Sakan declared. Shit, you lad," Taiyuya murmured, relishing her teammate's fury with a wry smile. "Who will take the first watch?" Sakan yelled at her, "I say to you," before returning to their camp. Under Orochimaru's direction, they had sneaked into Konoha without being detected. A relatively nice place to stay was provided by Orochimaru, who had used an abandoned facility before leaving the village. It was a better option than camping outdoors, where they could be found at any time. Although Orochimaru had instructed them on how to avoid detection by sensors, hiding in plain sight was still not advisable. Taiyuya screamed with a wide smile, "This was totally worth it, dude." Looking back at his red-haired friend, Jirobo sighed and acknowledged the girl's rude behavior. A servant was heard knocking on the door of the main bedroom and said, "Hayashi-sama. I'm sorry, but it is a time-sensitive matter." Hayashi screamed and got out of bed. Hitomi's curiosity about the situation led her to frown and put on a robe to cover her nightgown before joining her husband. "Hayashi-sama, the situation is utterly terrible." After a guard examined his cell, it was too late to save him. He had already departed. Hayashi experienced a momentary breakdown in his body. "Discuss," he demanded. Due to the poisoning, Hiruzen's body was deteriorating daily, and he did not experience the same headache that used to do. The cause of this headache was not attributed to any earlier illness, but rather to a young Uzumaki. "What do you think?" he murmured, alone in his office. "Yamato's recovery has not yet reached its full potential, and it appears my Umbu is not entirely dependable on this matter. My shinobi, the Kyubi and Ichibo, caused so much destruction that even they were unwilling to acknowledge their role in dismantling the story. They were both proficient shinobi. Hiruzen was unable to transport the injured individuals from the hospital due to the high number of injuries. Jiraiya was also unavailable, as he would be departing later that day. Yujito and her genitalia team kept their promise by accompanying the Toad Sage back to the border. Despite being aware of his urgency, Hiruzen still believed that his student would be absent for 2 or 3 days. He was left out of the list of people he trusted and those who were familiar with Naruto. Kakashi was unable to continue his mission, Yamato was injured, and Kurenai was expected to make a comeback tomorrow. Hiruzen sighed, acknowledging that there are few individuals who can grasp Naruto's perspective. Upon receiving the message, his secretary quickly responded by pressing a button on his desk, as if to convey the burden of an unknown individual. Despite the hour's early start, the man had been present for over an hour. Many people were awakened by the Kyubi incident, despite their previous actions. "What's your name?" "Hokage-sama." "Bring Mitarashi Anko as a companion." "Sir, that's accurate." "Is it necessary for me to have breakfast?" asked the middle-aged Chunin. "I think that's a good idea," Hiruzen whispered. "If I don't take care of myself, Tsunade will be waiting for me again." Tsunade held him responsible for certain actions. He was aware that the brunette with bust was not a person he would want to be disregarded. "I uncovered Sasori's body, destroyed it, and brought back his ring," Itachi revealed. In the Land of Fire, he and his partner Hoshigaki Kisame were standing in a circle with 6 dark projections surrounding them when they came together in an underground cave. It's a shock, but it was expected given the failure of the invasion. "Who is Orochimaru?" the leader inquired. Itachi stated that the evidence suggests Orochimaru defected to Pain-sama. Jiraiya of the Sanin's close encounter with him resulted in his escape from witnesses. The Hokage is said to have been wounded by Orochimaru, and he appears to be unwell at present, but the Sandaime remains in good health. Tsunade of the Sannin is believed to have cured him. The 3 Sannin were present, and the only woman among the Akatsuki spoke English. "Yes, of course." Itachi conceded that he was clueless about the reason. The invasion was a complete failure due to several unexpected factors. Among them, Tsunade in Konoha was not scheduled to attend the new Mizukage. "The Jinchuriki?" he asked in a disquieting tone, suggesting that the person was not interested. Both the Ichibi and Kyubi Jinchuriki are alive, just like their Japanese counterparts. Nevertheless, there is a problem. Sabaku no Gara was defeated by the Kyubi's Jinchuriki, who then altered his seal in some way. What the hell did he do? The shadow's expression was interrupted by a curse. The entire thing was a single, massive clusterfuck. "It's your fault that you should have sent Kakuzu and I," he quipped, gesturing to the viewer. Nevertheless, there were some fascinating incentives to be had. The leader uttered the words, "Enough. In order to extract the Ichibi seal, we must determine the modifications it has undergone. Still, it's inconsequential. The Sanbai's lack of reform necessitates a delay before we can begin the sealing process. It is surprising that the Kyubi's Jinchuriki had such great power." According to reports, Sabaku no Gara was able to collect a significant portion of the Ichibi's chakra due to its unstable nature. The Jinchuriki of Konoha appears to be unstable as well, Itachi half-spoke. "It's best to avoid any action against Konoha at this point. If this trend persists, it is probable that the Kyubi will free itself. The boy is unlikely to be able to keep the Kyubi under control for an extended period, and in doing so, his power will likely be severely diminished. The Hachibi and the Nibi, the Kyubi, in contrast, would never work together to collaborate with humans. According to Pain, noted, I am. The decision to use Sunagakure as the base for the invasion was a risky move, but it would be more sensible if we were planning to attack Konoha without their involvement. It is a shame that we didn't manage to get two Jinchuriki together. Conan inquired about Orochimaru's whereabouts. That damn snake ran away, Kisame growled loudly. They said, in his hideout I only found traps, absolutely nothing. Itachi calmly replied, I didn't warn you to enter it so easily. As per Kisame, he is right. All evidence shows this is true. Both of the two hideouts have been evacuated, and it was evident that Orochimaru had made numerous attempts to clear his tracks. It is my belief that Orochimaru was our betrayer, and we should treat him as a foe. As Kakuzu began to anticipate, what's the next step? Pain instructed that the Gobi's Jinchuriki be taken to the main hideout. If there is only one, we could keep him in custody until we can commence the process of removing the Bijuwar. Afterward, you and Haiden will go out to find Orochimaru. I am confident that you can raise more money as you continue on your journey. Zetsu will send a duplicate to keep an eye on the Sanbai's return. With Sasori out, you will have to find all the Jinchuriki. Itachi, Kisame, and you make it to Ishigakure. Their daimyo has an interesting job for you to do. A Nukenin from IWA has been spotted nearby, and it's possible that he could be an intriguing candidate for our team. The shadow who had not spoken at the meeting spoke up by saying, Leader Sama. In a childish tone, the man asked for Sasori-senpai's ring. Good day, asked Zetsu's white half, who then shrugged when Pain looked at him in a happy pose. Toby snuck in and started to leaping. Toby is a very good boy, in all things. Has Toby obtained Sorori-senpai's ring? Index, Pain quipped. Zetsu's black half reprimanded Toby for his excessive behavior, saying, yes, behave. Afterward, the meeting was completed. The specks disintegrated and then disappeared. Kisame glanced at his spouse. Itachi was inquiring about Toby's behavior and asked if they had any respect for their little brother. What is the reason for his behavior in that manner? I am unable to make sense of the situation. Unless he is capable of deceiving me, it doesn't appear to be acting. I was under the impression that you would be searching for him during your stay in Konoha. What was his status? Asked Sasuke, but he was late. Calling bastard, Kisame scowled. You mentioned that you were eagerly anticipating the return from Konoha and didn't tell anyone about your interest in the Jinchuriki. The progress of Nasru's development is still uncertain as it is too early to predict his potential. Nonetheless, it holds no significance whatsoever. As I stated, the odds are not in his favor. Despite his ability to defeat the Kyubi, he would still be defeated. The boy would not be able to handle his unique advantage and would fail even if I became too weak to deal with him. You make it sound like he has the potential to win and prove his worth. If Kisame doesn't interfere with others, he could become someone who can make you work for your money. Shut up, Kisame's grin made more sense. I am eagerly looking forward to it. It's been a while since my last good fight. Thankfully, I won't let that bad boy Haiden steal my fun again. He was confined to his bed and had been forbidden from leaving it, so he found a spot. He had stayed there for a long time to recuperate, and sitting still and doing nothing was not his true passion. It's not a question of course. Hinata responded with a firm and unwavering no, as she had previously stated. According to Tasanade-sama, you were only permitted to leave bed if either she or Shizun-san claimed that you could do so. No, you cannot escape. I suggest getting some advice from Bachan, as she'll be able to see that I'm okay with it. Naruto, I have a different interpretation of the term, healed, than most people. She didn't even attempt to stop the tired sigh, communicating her unease to him. You are so fucking reckless. Hinata would normally be too timid to speak out, but her worries were now more significant. Naruto's sigh was heard as he put his arm around his chest. "You're still upset with me?" "Yes, I believe you took a risk. You need to be careful," Hinata said. "Naruto-kun, if you didn't comply with my request, you would never be attentive and rest as instructed." Naruto calmly stated, "I know that there was no other solution to deal with Gaara. I had planned to avoid using the Kyuubi's chakra, but Gaara's reversal of power left me with no choice. Moreover, I was aware of the gradual weakening of our seal and therefore took action at a faster pace." Hinata asked, "Why do you always have to take care of yourself?" out of sheer frustration, as she felt helpless. Naruto was unsure of what to say. He would initially state that he was alone, but it was not the appropriate approach. He didn't want to belittle her by stating that she was too feeble. How could she be reassured of his dissimilarity from her? "And where were you on that night?" Gaara-san inquired, "But they claimed you had left the property for a while." Naruto revealed that he had conversed with Neji during his conversation, as Naruto said in a grim tone. "Two Chunin were trailing me as I returned to this place, hoping to launch an assault. I went to confront them when I arrived. Don't you think we could have done something for you?" Naruto muttered, saying, "They were just Chunin." Even after living in the Hyuga for a long time, he could never adjust to being stared at Byakugan or someone who gazed directly at him. "I felt like the Umbu idiot. Approach was more appropriate, as they weren't supposed to cause any trouble. I never thought it would be a problem. Instead of attacking you," Hinata softly stated. "Yeah. Even though I was aware of his hatred towards me, I believed he would keep the vows bindingly to Konoha and the Hokage. As you can see, I was mistaken about that. It's possible to say that the Kyuubi were responsible for saving my life in some way. Kiba and Karen would rather die than attack you." Hinata was appalled to hear the word Naruto. "I'm not sure it's the same thing, right?" Naruto sighed as he realized that the situation was unchangeable, and neither of them could undo it. At least there was no happening. The Kyuubi sulk that has been felt for the past 2 days is somewhat entertaining. "What is the sensation of being a Jinchuriki?" Hinata asked softly. "You're not interested in being informed. Despite the lack of detail, Gaara-san's actions make it seem like you saved him from torture every day. The person who drew that image was a complete idiot." Nevertheless, Fuinjutsu did not appear to be widely disseminated. Naruto aimed to divert Hinata's attention from the Uzumaki scrolls, which were inferior to the items found in our libraries. However, he quickly realized that it was not effective. "You're observing me, aren't you? Sometimes, your mother teaches you too much. It's fine. Although my seal is stronger than Gaara's, the Kyuubi is notably more proficient than the Ichibi. The fact that the number of tails reflected the power of a bijou made me wonder if he was just bragging about it. He's a proud bastard, after all. However, I am now able to see the difference clearly." Hinata is now extremely worried and inquired if you suffer as much as Gaara-san did. "Nay. At least not yet. The connection between the two is becoming more intense each time Naruto uses their chakra," he said with a shrug. "I previously mentioned that I would be taking the old pervert on a training trip to improve my strength, as I have stated before. Hopefully, I'll be fine. My only option is to build up my physical strength, which will enable me to withstand the Kyuubi's might more effectively." Hinata remained silent for a few moments before sighing. "Hinata, I didn't require this from you. If I could, I would have halted the asshole that infected me. The Yondaime is regarded as a hero, but I am not. How many requests did Ji-san receive this time from people who want to either seal off my chakra or imprison me? It seems that some people had a more favorable opinion of me being removed from active service for my actions in stopping Gaara. Ask Gaara about his treatment in Sunagakure, as the bijou is the most significant issue." The Kyuubi had some valid points about humans being more malevolent than any demon. I3W wasn't angry with Karen-san, I just... She couldn't evade his question, but she was peculiarly unyielding in her refusal to answer it. Consequently, she flashed her eyes. He had asked her 3 times before, and she started to have a flush like this for the 3rd time, as if her brain had been narrowed. It's safe to say that she doesn't have any peculiar animosity towards Karen either. Despite their casual conversation, it seems like they came to a mutual understanding. I'm guessing it was one of those enigmatic girl things. Naruto sighed and acknowledged the need to inform Hinata that she is not expecting an answer or she will flee once more. The most unpleasant part about being confined to a bed is the feeling of being completely alone. Naruto chuckled as he saw someone instructing him to turn and then get flustered like this. If you're not interested in discussing it, then be honest. It is my wish that you avoid engaging in combat with Karen or any other form of violence. Hinata nodded and kept her face red, but didn't believe her words. Oh, no one would have known. He exclaimed, I have a sister. With a big smile on her face, Ako stood in the hallway just outside the room. Haruki, if you could see this, you would have been content. It's possible that your aspirations for them to become a couple could be realized. She seems to have gradually improved her ability to interact with him in a normal manner. She used to feel giddy whenever he greeted her, but this past year has seen significant growth. I'm curious about how they'll progress. In spite of this, I am still questioning whether the clan would authorize such a move. Once it reaches that far, Naruto will undoubtedly find a way. He consistently does this. Karen asked as she watched Ako descend the stairs. What's going on? Despite the circumstances, Hyuga's expression was still kind of smiling. Nothing, Ako declared. Karen sighed, Shizen-san has not arrived yet. No. The hospital was crazy last night, she said. Has Nissan remained in his current state? It's surprising how strict she can be on occasion. I suppose. Did she and Nissan have a moment of clarity? It's strange how she looks at him when he is looking away, but I thought she... Ako shrugged off his doubts. They'll have to work that out eventually. Like you and Kiba, there's still time to be a couple. Karen gasped and said, KK, Kiba-kun? Despite my inaction, I have. I mean, Ako quipped. I'm not hesitant to reveal my secrets, so I can keep them under wraps. I am loyal to Naruto, and you are his sister. However, I hope you don't make as much noise as your brother. Karen shook her head when the doorbell opened in front of her. Kurenai greeted her friend with a smile, Shizen-san, and, I'm sorry to say that, she said. Karen, I didn't know you were here yet. Akamaru's cheerful yell made Kiba stand up from the chair where he had been sitting. Kurenai-sensei, are you back? Upon meeting Kakashi and his team, I was informed that I needed to return quickly. Kurenai inquired about his condition. You're aware of Naruto's status, Kiba said with a shrug. It appears that his seal is deteriorating and starting to break. The irrational Umbu guard made an effort to assassinate Naruto. He was deemed less challenging than the one assigned to Hokage-sama, as I can attest. Hey, that's great, exclaimed a voice in the kitchen. Upon hearing the news, Kurenai looked annoyed and immediately comprehended what Kiba meant by trouble. As the guard for Naruto and Gaara, Anko, are you expected to serve? Kurenai inquired. Anko, feeling embarrassed, entered the room and remarked, what did you do to deserve this? I might have accidentally ransacked some stores, followed by a smile from Ako. They were both carrying food to the dinner table. Temari stated that they assigned you to this location, as it is a safe place to cause harm in an empty area like this. I didn't do it for that cat, but I did, Ako remarked. Chia is not the reason why we should be messing around with him. I'm curious as to why you continue shielding that cat. I am not in favor of individuals who issue summons to choke children. Enko. Kurenai's aura was once present, appearing to be haunted by darkness and menace. What did you do? Kure-chan replies with a more serious response, no, I didn't. Enko was hit in the head by Kurenai. It's not a challenge, but enough to get the message across. Enko, if you continue to behave like this, nobody will ever know. I'm aware, but that cat stole my dango. As a result, she did it and I won't give her my blanket back until she apologizes, Ako stated. Sorry, I'm sorry. At least until she admits it and truly apologizes. Enko's face made a statement to the cat, no fair, and Kurenai only had to give back her slap. Behave in your manner. Sorry. As for you and that cat, I cannot see it. Kurenai expressed his annoyance. We're aware of that, Kiba sighed, prompting the snake mistress and the playful cat to voice their displeasure. I'll be bringing Gaara and the makeup kid with me. As a final gesture, I'll bring Hinata-sama and food to Naruto, Ako replied. Shizune, exhausted from a day at the hospital, drove herself to the Uchiha district. Although not directly stated, the woman was still drained and tired. She was part of the Kato clan, not the Naras, and so she had no right to complain about neglecting the boy's boundless energy and lack of self-respect. Tsunade was prepared to go, but Shizune told her she wanted to meet Karen. Tsunade smiled and explained to her that she could sense why she had such a strong liking for the child. I think I resembled Karen's much during my time at my age, and maybe Tsunade-sama is right. Shizune sighed as she remembered, even the part where I had a crush. The boy's death in a mission had left Shizune heartbroken, as it was 1 year older than her. Although she was aware that Genin had a high probability of dying during their initial mission outside Konoha, she never anticipated him to say anything. I'm feeling so worn out that I can't do anything, Shizune sighed. Nevertheless, it had enabled her to acknowledge the extent of pain that her superior had experienced during her uncle's passing, and to comprehend how it still affected her. She and her uncle had a close bond. Sanjuro and I were strangers to each other. Despite not having a proper date, I still can't shake off the idea of what my life would be like if he had lived through it. Nevertheless, I wish Karen-chan had more good fortune than I do. Kiba has a supportive team that won't leave him behind. Despite being told that my Fuinjutsu scrolls are inaccessible due to Hinata, can I still leave this damn bed and learn how to read? Naruto expressed his desire to do something. Hinata's confused look made Shizune chuckle. Please. I didn't mean it, Naruto-kun, she exclaimed. According to Shizune's remark, Tsunade-sama said that you had done a good job, Hinata, she said. Yes, Naruto, the need for drastic measures was evident. If you were not compelled to take the necessary time to recover, you would be in disarray. Shizune was too exhausted to handle a cranky 12-year-old like him, so I guess I'm healed. You're displaying excessive carelessness. I'm not a big fan of the fox, it just heals me. I believed you would understand the perilousness of depending on the Kyubishi. I was not at fault for being stabbed in the chest with a perverted umbu. Shizune tapped her forehead. Let's be more careful, don't worry, because I'm the one telling you that. Had Tsunade-sama been present, you would have required an additional few days to recuperate. It's fortunate that Hinata and Ako-san were able to convince her that tranquilizers weren't required. During the exchange, Karen's stomach became sore from laughing too hard. She had seen enough to know that her newfound brother was obstinate, but he had only lost the battles. Karen didn't feel any pity for him, but she shared the same view as the others. Despite his mistaken belief that she would be more flexible with his movement restrictions, she had still told him the same. Shizune-Nizen's warning seems to have been received by him at least. Despite knowing that she is one of the world's top medical professionals, Karen wishes she had similar qualities to her own. Despite not believing she could do such things, Karen had developed a strong appreciation for her profession and spent countless hours supporting Shizun at the hospital. It's unfortunate that Kyuzugaku was only interested in my abilities as a censor. Everything else is a complete letdown for me. Naruto chuckled, who am I to believe that I could become as awesome as Shizun Nizan? Tenten mused, we're only starting to practice this, so we don't need any chakra. Naruto inquired if Tsunade-sama had placed restrictions on the amount of chakra that a jonin would possess, as per Bachan's teaching. I am unable to achieve more than 3 Kage Bunshin without experiencing exhaustion. Tenten chuckled slightly. Is being ordinary a source of irritation? Having a Kyubi-like demon trapped within you can also provide some advantages. What is the plan? Now that you are well enough, I decided to start training. Niji's absence leaves my team mostly unproductive, with Gai-sensei always on duty. You are tasked with protecting Gaara and the others. The reason I proposed was to use spears during the morning session and Fuinjutsu in the afternoon. Moreover, Karen and Hinata will be joining us in the Fuinjutsu fight. Ah, okay. The more you care, the happier it is, Tenten declared with a smile. The training process is more efficient when working with other seals, as they will likely need to cooperate for larger ones. Owned the terms. I haven't found much to learn about using spears or tridents, so I recommend trying Bojutsu instead. Bojutsu? Prompted Tenten to reveal 2 scrolls and summon 2 staves. Tenten threw one of them at Naruto and said, this staff is a bow. It's made from the tough wood of a red oak, she announced at the beginning of her pre-written lecture. The Rokish Kubo, which measures 6 feet in length, is the name given to this type. Although it's not a spear, I decided to use this type of weapon because it shares some similarities. Naruto tossed the bow and felt it was a perfectly balanced piece of art. The bow is dense, as you can see from the picture. Approximately, 1 in 100 is the value of this. The middle section is 25 inches thick. Nevertheless, you perceive it to be somewhat curvy. The Chukunbyu is the name given to the middle part, while the kanti ends are less thick. Like this one, the kanti measures around 3/4 of an inch in length. The thick Chukunbyu of a bow allows its user to both block and counter an attack. It still resembles the sound of an arrow, Naruto stated with a hint of doubt. Tenten asked, why do you seem to be so obsessed with spears? Tenten sighed, can't say that. You like your secrets a lot, right? And I thought you were all about, spears are cool. The usual reaction of kids our age in my dad's store is like that. The bow is not a spear, to be perfectly precise. It can be employed to sway, swing, and deliver strikes. The thrusting, swinging and striking techniques are very similar to the unarmed movements of some styles of taijutsu. The scrolls I carried often treat the bow as if it were an extension of one's limbs. However, the steps up are very similar to spear methods. By holding onto the kanti and extending it, rather than leaving both hands at the Chukunbyu section, you can make it look like a spear. If the circumstances demanded it, you could transform into an odachi. Naruto stated that it sounds remarkably adaptable. Tenten smiled, that's why I chose it. Rather than focusing on a specific weapon, you practice the fundamentals of various techniques instead. My dad taught me bojutsu because of this reason. My initial jo was a much smaller bow, but I should clarify that we are not yet tall enough to use the 6-foot bow chair. Considering your preference for spears, I decided on the adult version. Naruto acknowledged that the extension of your limbs was not an uncommon occurrence and agreed that 6 feet was too extreme. He was 1 foot shorter than the staff. He didn't think it would be the most practical solution, but he had faith in Tenten's judgment on this matter. It's safe to assume that the Hyuga doesn't do much with weapons. They rely solely on taijutsu for strength training and it appears disrespectful when they are confronted with weapons. Despite their peculiar eyes, they would make excellent archers. If they were snipers, I'm left wondering how they managed to form such a strong tradition in the world of taijutsu. It's almost nonsensical. Juken is a valuable resource, but their eyes are worthless just because of it. Perhaps their belief that archery was a way to fight against cowards may have been overstated, as it made them feel too proud. They may also have the impression that they are too good-looking to participate in ranged combat. They must be foolish enough to present such reasons. The only thing a shinobi should do is carry out their tasks as quickly and efficiently as possible, but their foolishness would limit their abilities. Do you prefer to begin with a spar and learn about the bow's feelings, or do you want to train some kata first? Hitomi mildly taunted her daughter by replying, "You're so distracted today, Hinata-chan." When there were only two, Hitomi abandoned the formal appearance she usually had in front of others. Hinata was aware of the dualistic nature of her mother's actions, unlike her younger sister. Her husband and everyone else had a side of humor. Despite her initial infatuation with him, Hitomi believed she saw him less frequently than she used to, and the cold-hearted leader's persona became more authentic. His past relationship with him was characterized by his honesty, caring, but also his shyness. Hinata expressed her regret and thanked the man for their kind words. Hinata asked, "Why did you say something wrong to Naruto-kun?" with a flush. Mother. This time, we'll address the topic. Be mindful of expressing your emotions without being seen as a cover-up. She said, "Yes, mother, of course." Hitomi smiled and said, "It's clear to me that you have a deep affection for him, even from someone as untrained as himself. Naruto-kun is often the reason for depression or happiness, as it can bring about sadness. What is the reason behind your lack of focus today?" Nevertheless, she had additional details to disclose. It was evident to Hitomi that he could see it. The fervor, irritation, melancholia, discontent, and, most importantly, the worry, was the reason behind his actions? Hinata sighed and replied with a yes. He stated that he was the only one who could stop Gaara without killing him, as per our initial report. Hinata, why did he take such a risk in his life? I don't think it's fair. No one asks you for your permission. The world doesn't view justice as it is. The outcome is predictable. The belief that we are unfairly treated by our clan members is widespread. Hitomi conveyed his disapproval of the view with a somber tone, admitting to being personally opposed. Hinata wondered if her mother was at fault for something, questioning whether she should blame herself or the person responsible. The individual who is at fault has been identified as the one. Is it not true that people blind themselves by considering concepts such as fairness and fate? Asked Hitomi. Learning the lesson is essential, or else you won't be able to grow. Naruto-kun once expressed that it would be more beneficial to avoid all the lies that have been circulating. Hitomi maintained, but our Byakugan helps us see things from others' perspective, but it doesn't aid us in seeing ourselves, Hinata said after a brief moment of silence. Do you believe that Naruto-kun fights for his own benefit? Hinata, Hitomi's teaching style was primarily focused on making her daughter understand the connections between things and find ways to connect them. However, there were other factors beyond the obvious. Some things were correlated while one anticipated them to be unrelated, while others were entirely arbitrary and everyone assumed they were related. Our mother's beliefs about us make me doubt everything, but she also encourages me to gain confidence by recognizing that our doubts can contribute to betterment. Those who are afraid of doubt conceal their falsehoods and fail to overcome their own insecurities. It's important to know, right? But why did she ask about Naruto-kun when she already knew what it was and didn't doubt it? If you're a fan of Naruto-kun, it can be difficult to grasp his true character and the goals he sets for himself. Can you provide a response to my query? Why does Naga-kun not fight for himself? Hinata inquired. It's important to consider what others want to see, rather than how they perceive you, so that true insight can be obtained. My advice to you is to be honest with yourself, that's why I taught you it. The Byakugan's true understanding is not derived from cold logic, but rather from our empathy. Naruto-kun does not participate in the Konoha fight. He could have found other ways to defeat Gaara-san if he had done that. The sight of Gaara-san made him see himself. Jinchuriki is the fate of Gaara-san. What was the reason behind Naruto's intense interest in Gaara-san? He saw his own problems and was afraid that he might end up like Gaara-san. Hitomi nodded in response. Even so, due to his fear of the fate that would follow him, he did not want Gaara-san to be subjected to it. What can be inferred about Naruto's caring nature? Hinata's mother seemed to be apprehensive as she rarely showed signs of laughter. My cousin can't have said that to me, Hitomi quipped, feeling saddened by the news of Haruki's death and rejoicing in his own memory. Is Naruto-kun going to quit? Hitomi questioned, confidently acknowledging the answer. I cannot describe the sensation of being a Jinchuriki. The level of animosity towards Naruto and Gaara, as well as the evil spirits they hold, is almost impossible to fathom. Even so, they have the ability to wield significant power, even if it is beyond their control. It seems to me that Naruto-kun takes on more challenges than he answers faithfully. He is aware of his capabilities, but he wants to accelerate. Is it possible that he has been subjected to too much pressure? By taking action now, he could have diminished his seal and brought the Kyuubi closer to regaining their freedom. However, he has no plans to release the Kyuubi. What does this mean, Hinata? She looked at her shoulder in confusion and after much thought she couldn't find the right answer. Hitomi expressed her desire to aid her daughter, who had not yet learned much despite being on the right path. He may not realize the need for assistance, but he still finds some way to assist himself. While you are doing it, try to find the answer to my question. Hinata, it's necessary for you to observe this one. He has plans to bring down the demon with him, and I was aware of this fact during our last conversation. His eyes were a betrayal, leaving him with little hope for his future. To avoid bothering her daughter, Hitomi repressed her desire to sigh. At least not yet. A person who lacks hope is willing to take significant risks. Hinata's proximity would prevent him from taking any risks. He would never want to hurt her, even if it meant suffering any negative consequences, she said as her eldest daughter left the room they had used for their training session. Oh Hayashi-kun, I'm glad you could take this moment to express yourself, said the character. You underestimate the intelligence of our girl compared to hers. Despite this, you only hold on to the superficial might that our clan holds dear. What makes it difficult for you to comprehend that our Byakugan is more than just a gentle fist gesture? Furthermore, do you fail to realize that we derive our insight from our own emotions, not from cold reasoning? The deceit and dishonesty that shaped our traditions have become deeply embedded in our clan. Those traditions are too strong for you to break. If only I had known about our clan's true history when you were still open to such innovative ideas. What the hell is going on? Temari questioned. Today marks the departure of Miss Mizukage. Upon my return to Jisan this morning, I observed that the locals had organized a small-scale celebration. It's odd to witness how quickly opinion can change. Naruto stated that she was a hero of our village, but it wasn't true. Jisan's announcement of the new alliance between Konoha and Kirigakure people led to a change in their minds about her. Nevertheless, I am capable of comprehending the situation. Despite her odd behavior, she is known for being very pleasant. Naruto nodded and suggested an alliance. Defense-minded, right? Jisan expressed his belief that Kiri would undergo a change, and Miss Mizukage has stated her intention to alter her village. They seem to be exhausted by the amount of carnage and bribery that their village was once known for during their previous Mizukage's reign, which they are now fed up with. This is a major development, right? Temari quipped. Konoha and Kiri have formed an alliance, and I am hopeful that our council will restore the old friendship. They will, as Gaara put it, was confirmed to be true. The combination of Konoha and Kirigakure will cause resentment in the communities of Kumogakure and Iwagakure. The world's balance will be impacted by it. If we don't align our village with Konoha, Iwa will turn against us. If our three nations were to join forces, they would feel threatened and take advantage of any opportunities to undermine a potential alliance. Naruto's response was likely, but he shrugged off his doubts. Although we have a peace treaty with Kumo, their past violations make it difficult for us to trust them again. Iwagakure would be dissatisfied, given the deep-seated animosity among people due to the past conflicts. According to Temari, the Yondaime Hokage's actions have left them feeling somewhat outraged. Who doesn't? Naruto inquired, bitterly castigating the man for confining the Kyuubi in him. Is there a new festival happening? Kiba inquired, appearing uninterested in politics. Sweet. Why didn't you say anything? Do you want to go as well? Kiba. I think it would be better if Gaara, Temari, and Kankuro were not present. Naruto softly stated that it was a way of celebrating their victory in the invasion. It's likely that the people won't be pleased to see Suna natives during this time. As Kiba muttered, "Oh. I see," he stated. Alright, there's always the festival taking place next week. What is this topic? Temari asked with a frown. Naruto's sigh was heard as he put his arm around his chest. Kankuro and you could depart, but Gaara should also avoid that situation. Kankuro was unable to comprehend the meaning of what? Why? The annual festival to commemorate the day when the Kyuubi attacked Konoha next week is scheduled by Naruto, who was surprised by the bitterness in his voice. It's worth noting that Jinchuriki haven't received an invitation. He swung his head back and then proceeded to walk away. Kiba scowled as he admitted, "That's not what I expected." "What caused you, my friend?" Enko asked. Their seating arrangement was on the roof's lateral side, which was situated away from Konoha. Naruto's response was, "Nothing," as he stated. "Ah, come on, can you tell me?" Enko-nichan muttered happily. Despite being bored, she decided to be a guard, and Kurenai's comments about these children made her develop feelings for them. Naruto surveyed her, questioning whether she ever stopped making jokes. "As it stands, she's not the same insane person who attempted to force me out of her training base," Naruto mused before making a gesture of his hand at her neck. Without delay, her smile disappeared. "You can imagine my emotions right now," he said softly, smiling. "I guess I can relate to what you're saying," Enko muttered. "I'm curious, what is up with you about your rage?" "I have a strong ache for festivals. It's a discussion of the annual celebrations. You know what it is to be hated for something that you can't get over." "How old were you when Orochimaru left a mark on your body?" Enko asked with blinkness. "If you're not familiar with the Uchiha clan, can you inform me?" "Yes, of course. Orochimaru was my Jonin sensei," Enko stated. "I have limited knowledge about the time when I became this smug person. My recollection is unclear. He likely got rid of anything he considered too dangerous. It was a complete letdown, as the Yamanaka were unable to unlock those memories." Naruto observed the Tokubetsu Jonin's sad expression as she grimaced. He pointed at the seal, stating, "Stop it. I can sense it. It appears that the seal responds to your anger." Enko's expression was a grimace. "You're able to sense something. Are you now a sensor?" "I can perceive the darkness in people's demeanor and perception. Your behavior as the savage and insane torturer doesn't seem to work very well," he quipped. "The reason she does it may be to prevent people from coming into contact with her. The woman behind the seal is safeguarded from being hurt by anyone who cannot see her again. Those who betray her for other reasons will also do so." Was that why Jisan chose her? He must have been aware of the unreliability of his Umbu, thus selecting a person with greater understanding than what ordinary Jinchuriki can handle. Despite her weak seal, Orochimaru is too distant from the Kyuubi's overwhelming strength. Wise ass, she murmured. You're probably aphobic of festivals. Anko, the boy's ex-student and seal holder, asked how the villagers would react to seeing you at the festival. What is the significance of that? When I was a child, I never could fathom why there was one day when I felt mistreated. In the orphanage, it was common to tolerate violence from other children, but Naruto witnessed instances where adults encouraged their peers to physically assault her on an annual basis. When I was 4, I took my first steps on the road and ran away. After discovering that there was a festival in the village, I decided to explore it somewhat out of curiosity. After a few days in the hospital, I still have vague memories of what had happened to me. At the age of 5, I was ejected from the orphanage the day before. After what had happened the previous year, the woman stated that it was the appropriate penalty for me. I attempted to hide, but something ejected from my body. Nonetheless, I wasn't severely injured. Fires never caused significant pain, despite their effects. At the age of 6, I made a conscious decision to hide before joining the Hyuga clan, but it took them all day to discover me. I found out that some individuals believed that harming me was a part of the festival. It appeared to be a game. Anko expressed his shock and disbelief when he heard the term, a fox hunt, being used to describe the activity. That's appalling. Naruto shrugged off the idea of a birthday party that was far from unpleasant. Are you against Konoha? Naruto looked at the snake's mistress. Rather than her usual harsh and short-tempered nature, she was seen as a kind and gentle soul by him for the first time. She needs to stop hiding like that, she said. I've come to believe that people don't like me back, but what kind of emotional damage can you inflict on us? I have made the decision to disclose this as a means of clarifying my position and not for personal gain. I took a risk, hoping that you would comprehend my gamble. Anko nodded and then frowned deeply after serving Konoha. Naruto chuckled slightly while watching her struggle to come up with the solution. I'm not particularly fond of Konohagakure, but I do share one commonality. I don't really like the village even though it is where I live. My intention is to rectify the situation and prove to them that they were mistaken, not me, but rather the person who brought me into existence. The few friends I have here are important to me and I will do my best to make this a better place. To ensure that future generations don't have to endure our fates. She was unable to respond straight away. I thought you were just another pathetic person. I didn't take you seriously, adolescent. I didn't realize you were smarter than I am. The marked individuals have two options, either to remain immobile and move on, or to overcome the obstacle and achieve greater self-awareness. Our burdens push us to grow at a faster pace, just to survive in this hostile environment. She muttered involuntarily and touched her curse. It's not just a thing that slows us down, Naruto stated, emphasizing that budget is more than just something that makes you feel burdened. It has the ability to motivate us. Despite the significant risk, it is tempting to succumb to the temptations it can provide. Karen reluctantly asked, "Are you ready?" I'm in agreement with this, but it seems a bit ridiculous. She sat down to examine the sheets Naruto had given her, Tenten, and Hinata. I requested you to read it, Naruto said with a blink of an eye. You mentioned that you would instruct us on our clan's Fuinjutsu. Naruto shrugged off the atypical expression, acknowledging that it was just basic writing. I won't permit you to duplicate seals if you're unaware of their precise workings. Moreover, you will encounter more difficulties than I do, as the tougher seals demand your cooperation with others. Chakra is not a source of energy for either of you. Karen bowed as she spoke. At least, show us something. Don't you notice anything in the last round of our Chunin exams? Naruto asked boredly. I suppose I could, but... He grinned and headed towards the house. A voice yelled out, Temari, please don't use your fan like that, and apologized. However, the response was not entirely convincing. While examining the hand seal to produce a new clone, he grumbled, "It's not right as I can't spam these things around like I used to doing." He was left feeling somewhat dazed in the effort. He remarked, "If I'm not fully aware of her method for training me to use wind chakra, she should clarify it instead of using a giant folding fan to slap me." As I was saying, well, what did I just say? Tenten quipped, "You were going to show me a seal," as he turned his head. "Yeah, that's correct. Let me begin with a basic weight seal and elaborate on the fundamental concept. Upon finishing reading the one seal, you should read all the copies of the basic theory that were given to you." "At what hour were you supposed to be at the office of Hokage-sama?" Hinata questioned softly. "At the age of 12. There's enough time for me to go out, and I have at least 40 minutes. Karen eagerly began her speech, "Let's commence." She had genuinely been coercing him to educate her on some of their family secrets. The hallmark of Uzumaki-style fuinjutsu in seals is the swirl in the center, which is a fundamental aspect of the art form. The Uzushiogakure symbol is essentially the same as the vortex symbol. The symbol is not exclusively utilized for decoration. This is the location where the chakra is sealed, and the system of signs and connections receptively distributes the stored chakra so that the desired effect is produced. The vortex is essentially the thing you are, with the hand signals, shape change, and nature change being part of the system that surrounds it. And beyond that, each individual has their own set of chakras, to illustrate. The system that is designed contains filters that can be used to identify the specific chakra. You have the ability to combine the chakras of several individuals to form a single jutsu. Why are you explaining this, Nisan? Why can't we just copy the seals that already exist? Karen, if you saw someone else's hand sign and wished to do one, could you do it now? Naruto asked. Naruto stated, "No, but our clan was supposedly eliminated because of our fuinjutsu's fearlessness. The level of danger in fuinjutsu should be known by now. I won't teach you anything until you understand the dangers involved. The Anetsu Jigaku seal and a missing connection could lead to destruction, as illustrated by the unclearly drawn corner sign and simple weight seal." Karen consumed her food, and Hinata and Tenten appeared equally agitated. Tenten whispered, "Lee is glad you didn't come here, despite his previous statement that fuinjutsu would be beneficial to learn. Is that why you invited Hinata? She obviously has a better grasp of her chakras, isn't that true?" That was a factor in why I asked her, and that's why Naruto smiled when he saw Hyuga blushing from the praise. I could have asked Ino, but I noticed her lack of precision in chakra control. Learning this would require a considerable amount of patience, which is why her temper would be uncontrollable. Sakura's control has always been the most superior in our class, but her limited chakra makes it impractical. Although her love for theory would be a valuable asset, I doubt she would willingly settle at this location. I'm uncertain if I had intended to have her in this place. Shino and the others aren't very recognizable to me, so I am unable to make any judgments. I have decided not to teach Sasuke any of our clan's fuinjutsu, therefore he is out of the country. Choji and Shikamaru are not in charge. In Shikamaru's case, motivation is more important than control. The only ones who meet the requirements to learn fuinjutsu and have my trust to teach clan's secrets are you all." Naruto chuckled, even if two of his characters were not Uzumaki. He was not deceiving the latter. Karen was regarded by him as his sibling, and if she had the potential to learn fuinjutsu quickly, she would be a natural match for her abilities. He had a strong bond with Hinata, his first and only friend, and was confident that she could teach him the fundamentals of fuinjutsu. Tenten, the girl he exchanged his knowledge with, had already demonstrated her proficiency in fuinjutsu. Despite being mostly inactive, given her lack of family connections. Despite having access to the basic seals in Konoha's library, she was taught by none other than herself. Despite her limited knowledge, she was able to create an intriguing combination of weapons using her sealing scrolls. As previously noted, learning Fuinjutsu may prove to be a challenging task for some of you. The more demanding seals can be created on your own, but only if you possess the necessary chakra to achieve this. There are no chakras in your body that can support it. The most effective way to facilitate cooperation is by understanding how seals function, which is why it is necessary for all three. Instead of drawing seals, we must activate them simultaneously. Hinata scowled as she asked. We have different types of chakra, Karen nodded. It is evident to me that this is the case. Tenten asked, what changes can we make to seals to achieve that outcome? Don't let it go. To stop the bun-haired girl's enthusiasm, Naruto recommended that she start with the basics. After rolling out a scroll, he quickly secured the weight by drawing it out. The basic structure is the vortex holding the chakra in the center and the 4 quadrants arranged here, he explained. I won't go into detail about the functioning of each section or their interconnection with one another. I need to clarify the meaning of the signs and their connectors, as well as their connection with the main chakra conductors. Theories contain certain information. Naruto drew a seal that was much smaller and simpler when he placed it next to it. The outcome of having complete knowledge of a seal is that you can devise shortcuts. While the basic function is identical to its big brother, this small version is significantly less effective. The overall performance is inferior in durability, power, and chakra cost. Why did you choose the smaller model? Karen scowled. During a battle, drawing the big one is not possible, and we cannot prepare every seal before fighting. Even if I consider the effort required to carry numerous scrolls with preset seals, the time it would take to activate would be a disadvantage. In a combat, every second counts. Your chakra can create these shortcuts by writing them down, rather than using ink. Is it possible to utilize hindrances as a means of giving yourself time? Tenten inquired. Irrespective of the truth, those have their limits as well. You would never be given the opportunity to lead and always allow your opponent to launch a counterattack before you even take action. Due to its nature, the Uzumaki Fuinjutsu style necessitates preparation for most of its techniques, with the primary aim of attacking adversaries or taking down defenseless bodies. Without the necessary effort, Fuinjutsu becomes challenging to learn because of the time it takes to prepare. Hinata compared the situation to setting traps, she stated. The task of executing a seal in real time would be more challenging, but only if you have the skills to do it without delay. Naruto nodded and said, the process leads to this smaller seal. The scrolls I have learned so far do not offer any of these shortcuts. In numerous instances, the practical application is also restricted. You may have seen my confrontation with Lee. I needed to make direct contact to apply the seals. On the other hand, I am able to use my own clones as alternatives. Are you able to employ other objects such as kunai or arrows? Tenten inquired. It's clear that it can be done. Nonetheless, to accomplish this, you must have those things ready or at least carry a kunai with empty notes or something. Some seals would need a workaround in order to use that method. The weight seal that I found on a kunai would only make it heavy once I used it. With a nod to her feet, Tenten acknowledged the numerous variables that she would have to consider when studying Fuinjutsu, but her head became somewhat dazed. Despite the fact that they could have tweaked a seal, it's surprising to learn so much. Naruto began to laugh as he saw the dismay on the faces of his students. Don't be clingy, it's not something you have to deal with on your own. If I can help you, I will do it for you. Despite the fact that I had to deal with it myself, you don't have to go through that kind of difficulty. The Kage Bunshin no Jutsu was used by me for a few years, which is why I am writing this blog. I'm not confident that I can learn this in a week, is it? Karen nodded in disbelief. Following the teaching of the Fuinjutsu theory, Naruto had to quickly head to the Hokage office after instructing them with the yes-ni-san technique. He left Enko to protect Gaara, as he was unaware of how long it would take for him to come back. This summon had been different from the reports he and Enko had to provide to the old man on occasion. Naruto was taken aback when he entered the old man's office, which showed signs of frailty and age. "I'm doing all right, Tsunade, if you can please let me know how you're feeling." All three of you have left the room." Hiruzen urged Tsunade to seal the room and prevent any potential listeners from accessing the conversation. "Are you Hokage-sama?" "Certainly not, Rado, in private," Hiruzen replied. The three guards departed from the office without being able to comply with his direct directives. During Naruto, Tsunade expressed his concern by saying, "Don't you dare to upset him," and left the office. "Ji-san, what's the point of that expression?" Naruto scowled. Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his head and felt the pain in his bones. "I feel like I'm twice as old as this child," remarked myself. "Naruto, I regret not revealing the truth more openly, but I am unable to devote enough time to it. If I waited too long, it could endanger Konoha." "Many things that I need to talk about with Naruto-kun," Hiruzen said. He went on to say. "Initially, I observed the sifted heap of documents that had been dumped in the bin," he stated. "Your little excursion a few days ago resulted in me being asked those questions." Naruto ingested and examined the documents, with the first one appearing to be a request for his detention. "A lot of individuals expressed doubts about your ability to control the Kyuubi, suggesting that I would confine you, seal your chakra, or execute you. I declined every request, and I wrote to all who claimed that it was due to a betrayal by my own Umbu." Naruto's voice was a murmur. Hiruzen acknowledged that his actions during the invasion had led to a positive change in situation after the fact. "According to the above statement, the Kyuubi will continue to be a source of fear for us. Prior to my demise, I have a few things to inform you about." Naruto expressed his regret by saying, "I apologize, Ji-san," with a heavy tone. "Don't be a fool. Uzumaki Naruto, I would like to acknowledge you for giving me this extra time. Had it not been for the partial antidote Tsunade, which was produced from your blood, I would be gone for an extended period. I would have experienced a lot more pain than I currently do. It's almost too late for me, and I don't really care." With a smile on his face, Hiruzen admitted to feeling sad about leaving behind her loved ones, but acknowledged that it was just the tip of the iceberg. "Before I depart, I desire to see my successor take up the mantle of authority. There are only a handful of people who can do that, and I am one of them. None of them are willing, and the only one who is willing is the person I cannot endorse. My intention was to contact you for the purpose of influencing his decision." "You're asking Ero-sennin to take the helm?" Hiruzen asked, seemingly laughing because he was fond of the nickname given to his ex-student by the boy. "Jiraiya is the most suitable choice, doesn't that make him even better than Bachan? It is not my opinion that someone who leaves their past behind and tries to escape her pain is capable of leading a village. It appears that Hokage is not a job that she can handle without any significant changes, so I don't think she would be comfortable with it. She is too cynical." "It is a bit harsh, but I can confirm that it is accurate," said Hiruzen. "Tsunade has endured a great deal of misery. Everyone has a moment where they break." Naruto asked. "I don't have any negative feelings towards Tsunade-bachan, but I prefer to witness her engaging in activities that make her happy rather than imposing such a burden." Hiruzen maintained a gaze over the boy. "I regret not having lasted for another few years. If Minato had the same age as me, how would he have fared as a man in 5 years? I wish I had more time to do it. While I am convinced that Jiraiya has the potential for success, he may have a different perspective. One of his strengths is his deep understanding of human nature. If this child were to take over the Kyuubi's reign, I doubt anyone would be able to prevent his rise to power." Naruto's expression, "Ji-san," caused him to look slightly confused, as the old man suddenly lost his mind. "We were talking about Jiraiya, am I right?" "Yes, please." Jiraiya declined my offer to support him, which is why I called for you. We acquiesce to continuing our conversation once he comes back. Hiruzen stated that he left Konoha to transfer Yujito-san to the border of the Land of Lightning, as they believed it was more appropriate for her to leave the village after their conflict with the Kyuubi. He said, "Naruto, you are the reason I turned him down. I'm not sure what to make of it. He is of the opinion that his obligation to you would prevent him from becoming Godame Hokage." Naruto's expression was a hint that I am no longer interested in learning from him. Ji-san, I believe he would be able to dispel the lie. I have no desire to engage in such behavior. Nonetheless, I am inclined towards an alternative solution. Jiraiya can stay in Konoha and simultaneously teach the necessary subjects. The village's future is of greater significance to Naruto than any individual. Konoha's importance lies in your role, but the village requires strong leadership during this time. Do you believe that this arrangement can be arranged? Isn't it possible? It would be necessary for me to remain here as well. Naruto's expression was somewhat mournful. It would be nice to stay close to others, but it would also make it difficult for me to escape this place full of hatred. Is it true that there is no other answer? Ji-san is correct in his perspective. Ero Sennin is the most suitable choice for him. He requires a strict leader to maintain his composure. To ensure compliance with all regulations, including those pertaining to hot springs, his secretary must have a strict attitude. Agreed, I'll endeavor to persuade him otherwise. The old pervert is as unyielding as a goat, you know. Hiruzen's smile indicated that she would have wished to compare herself to a toad. The toads are so easy on the eyes, right? Naruto muttered. I am seeking a certain thing in return for my stay here, but I don't want to leave without finding another place. Is that what Hiruzen thought? He was a little surprised because Naruto rarely asked for anything from anyone in his entire life. Remove your law from the table. Naruto expressed his uneasy composure by asking, who is my law? Regardless of your intentions, the fact that you made that law meant that people didn't know me and my burden caused more harm than it ever did for me. The old man's shoulders were bowed, and Naruto observed the deep lines in his face. I apologize and offer my condolences. You did it because you knew it was going to help me. The law should be revoked at this point. Naruto stated that people have seen too much, despite his assertion. I'm afraid that they will hate me and find me unattractive, but it would be nice if they could uncover the truth about me. What is the reason behind my behavior and what idiot did it to me? If people realized that I was Uzumaki Naruto, the Kyuubi's prisoner, they might have changed their minds. You expressed a desire to discuss various topics, but your current focus has been on discussing Ero Sennin's role in the government. I will ensure that the law is revoked. I will clarify it to the council and the people of Konoha when I reveal my resignation. There were a few other things as well. First off, did you find someone from your family? Yes, they did. Karen was discovered by Tsunade-chan to be part of the Uzumaki clan. Hiruzen exclaimed, it's so awesome to know that I'm not the only Uzumaki. I can tell you acknowledged her as well. Naruto received a book-sized folder from Hiruzen, who reminded him that he was legally required to give them when you were an adult. The Uzumaki Manor's title deed, description, and history are all included in this document. The Hyuga will not welcome you and Karen as your hosts until you are left alone. Naruto, did you know about Uzumaki Manor and its dangerous artifacts? I wonder why my family owned it in Konoha. The property is protected by your clan's barriers, preventing only a select few from accessing it. Hiruzen defended his choice to grow up in solitude, as it was not the ideal setting. I am now extending my offer to Tsunade to take you for a ride after our meeting. The Kyuubi's attack resulted in damage to the temple building and annexes, despite the living quarters being intact. However, they can be reconstructed. Of great importance is the living quarters, which were intact on that particular day. It may be dusty, but since your mother has left, it remains uninhabited. Naruto was astonished that the old man had known her and wondered if he could have possibly been familiar with her. Hiruzen questioned, "Did you know that my mother was in Konoha?" "I must begin with his mother," he said. His curiosity will be directed towards her identity and the reason for her arrival in Konoha, and subsequently, he may not be overly pleased to learn about his father's identity. "I knew your mother well," Hiruzen sighed. "Naruto, I want you to know that I didn't conceal this information for any undue motivation. I also suggest that you keep it under wraps." He waited until Naruto nodded and acknowledged his understanding. The Shinobi village of Hidden by Whirling Tides, located in Uzumaki, was where your mother was sent from in her childhood. Why did Naruto wonder if she is here? Hiruzen inquired, "Are you aware that Uzumaki Mito was the wife of Shodai Hokage?" Naruto nodded once more. Uzumaki Mito's age had caused her mother to come here, and she was in need of a. Naruto glared at the old man with deep emotion, wondering why he chose that way of phrase. Most people are unaware that Mito-sama had engulfed the Kyuubi after Shodai-sama's conquest of Uchiha Madara. The reason for selecting your mother was her strong chakra, which led to her inheriting the burden of Mito-sama. Naruto was furious and exclaimed, "She what?" By coincidence, a portion of the Kyuubi's chakra began to leak out, which resulted in alterations to Naruto's eyes. Hiruzen intervened by raising his hand to halt the boy's conversation. Hiruzen stated that Mito-sama taught her the ways of your clan and later transformed the demon into a seal on his mother's body, while simultaneously trying to ignore the betrayed look in the boy. He proceeded to share with Naruto that his mother had grown up in Konoha, attended the academy, accepted responsibility for her father's burden and persisted in living a good life. What was her name? Naruto expressed his sadness upon learning that his mother had been a Jinchuriki like him, but he was grateful that she had not harbored such animosity towards him. Uzumaki Kushina. Her name was never mentioned in any recorded history, and I'm finding it difficult to accept. I will begin by telling her story. Earlier, I mentioned that Kushina had fallen in love at an early age and she later tied the knot with that man. Naruto, Kushina became pregnant with you at a later time. The old man's expression made a smile upon seeing the red-haired woman, who had confidently announced that the baby would become the next Hokage. We never realized what went awry, how it could go wrong, Hiruzen said, almost screamed. Pregnancy and childbirth were considered risks for a Jinchuriki, as the seal would be at its weakest due to the strain of childbirth. The specifics of what happened on that day were never disclosed. Kushina, guards, and healers were brought to a safe place, but they were all killed. Biwako, my wife, passed away that day. Hiruzen sipped his tears. Kami was the name given to her. My sentimentality has reached such an extent that I am now facing the prospect of dying. I am unable to cease. It's impossible for me to fall off. It's necessary for me to inform him. Despite the necessary precautions, the Kyuubi were able to escape. It is reasonable to assume that someone was behind it, but there was no evidence. Your mother was killed and the Kyuubi attacked the village, along with your father's death. Who was the person referred to as your father? He is the most outstanding hero of Konohagakure. Kushina's classmate, her closest friend, and her first crush turned into her lover. Despite witnessing him fight the Kyuubi, we never found his body. The Kyuubi's attack on him is believed to have caused his body to disintegrate, but there is a growing suspicion that this is not true. He was ecstatic upon Kushina's pregnancy. I can still recall the memories of his aspirations of having a son, spending time with him, teaching him valuable skills, and ultimately leading another child. Naruto, I know it's tough to accept, but your father is my replacement. He was the yellow flash that turned the tide of the previous war. The Yondaime Hokage and the Japanese warrior known as Namikaze Minato. A person who held great value for me as if they were my own offspring. Naruto gazed at him within shock. He was slumped in his chair, struggling to come to terms with this revelation. Naruto questioned, "Is it true that the Kyuubi was sealed by a bastard?" He could have reacted differently had he been more composed, but the revelation could not be tolerated by the already tinny patience that concealed his persistent fury. "If you saw him as your son, then why did you abandon me in that manner? I was aware that this knowledge would cause him to dislike me. Although he has the ability to dislike me at any cost, I will still tolerate his actions. I want to avoid creating a divide between him and Jiraiya, therefore I will be solely responsible before my death. The Jinchuriki's loyalty is crucial for the survival of Konoha, even if it causes me emotional distress." Naruto expressed his disbelief in the man who made his baby son hate the Kyuubi. "You're right, my father, he had no choice. I will never call my father a bad guy. I won't even consider it important to me to name him that. I'm not interested in being a monster like him." Naruto growled, "I don't want to think like that anymore." His body was covered in suppression seals by Jiraiya and his limiter Tsunade prevented him from losing control. Naruto regained some of his composure as he looked back on his childhood. "I'm curious as to why you were so inquisitive about him when I was younger. You wanted me to admire my father, and you did for a while." His crimson eyes shed tears of anger and sadness. "The fact that you told me everything about him made me hold him in high regard, and I practically rebuked him. He was the perfect example of who I am today, but it wasn't until I found out that he was accountable for my mistakes. I almost begged you not to tell me, but I'm still betrayed by the fact that I didn't mean it," he said. Hiruzen's heart was broken by the raggedness of his voice. The voice of a boy who had not yet turned 13 could be audible, as he experienced pain, anger, and most importantly, betrayal. "Do you perceive me as a mere tool, and allow you to manipulate and shape me into your desired form?" Naruto's expression broke down in tears. He then shook his head. "I'm surprised that my mother loved someone so unkind. She didn't deserve it. Nevertheless, she was a Jinchuriki. He may have also been manipulating her." "Naruto, you can't say that," Hiruzen responded by protesting, despite his feeble tone. His heart sank, and his throat was too tight to allow any oxygen to pass through. Naruto expressed his frustration by saying, "Don't talk to me as if you care." His father's identity was revealed, breaking the boundaries of what he had said in the past. He had pledged to never betray himself with implausible dreams, but he had underestimated the intensity of his desire to learn about his parents' misfortunes. Throughout his time in the orphanages, Naruto had frequent dreams about being picked up by strangers who claimed to be his family. While living in the Hyuga, he learned everything about the Uzumaki clan, and his experiences felt like they brought him closer to his parents. Naruto's greatest hope was found in the person who cursed him with his fate. Furthermore, his grandfather figure, a kind-hearted individual, had been the one to conceal the truth and even tried to manipulate him. It appeared to Naruto that his heart had been shattered. He asked, "Do you believe me?" in a desperate response. 1. The care he received was unconditional. "Hyuga Haruki is my father," Naruto declared. "I will hold on to the legacy of my mother and his teachings." Naruto walked out of the office, wiping his tears of humiliation and telling Namake's Minato that, "He is just my tormenting family." It was before the heartbroken Hokage could say even one word. "I asked Kai for some time, and he requested that I take the opportunity to speak with him again. I am aware that I had to inform him. Refusing to disclose it would only heighten the peril he is currently facing." He acknowledged the consequences, but emphasized the need to leave these plains without his forgiveness. Sarutobi Hiruzen shed tears and cried. "Minato, I am sorry to say that I have completely failed you," said the player. Tsunade yelled out, "Brat," as he tried to keep his distance from the boy who left the building. After catching up, Tsunade grabbed the boy by the shoulder and observed his eyes looking desperate. To make the boy feel more alive, Tsunade asked him what the old goat had said to him. Hiruzen had informed her that he would give the Uzumaki temple complex to the boy, and she was supposed to take him on a tour of it. She had instructed Shizune to take care of the old man, but she later realized that it was a poor decision. Whatever the sensei did to the brat, I don't think I'll let this one pass easily, she grumbled in her mind. Is it possible that you are aware of my parents? Again, those eyes. Tsunade pondered, is this the fault? I'm not confident in my knowledge of their person. I left Konoha before you were born, Tsunade disclosed. Naruto asked, how many people knew, with an angry expression. With the exception of my perverted teammate and sensei, how many people have lied to me? Minato's last surviving student is him, she stated upon seeing his expression. Smile, this was a matter that had been classified to an extreme extent, according to the child. If they had knowledge, it's impossible to imagine how other villages would react. She checked if there were any individuals within the hearing range and continued on. Kill this kid, it could lead to wars. If IWA knew, they would intrude on us right away. I'm betting that the Raikage would be willing to assist in settling the score. The most intimidating man of his time was Yondaime. His family's extermination was a result of his fear. What is the reason behind him erasing all material that made mention of your mother? He could have set fire to the country for her, but his response was one that he gestured towards his stomach. Why did he condemn me to such a fate? What caused her child's expression? I have no knowledge of the kid, and I'd like to be more knowledgeable about what happened that night, but nobody has a clear idea. No one but the fox that is trapped inside you can do anything. He maintained his silence for a few minutes, gazing at the gray autumn sky. Tsunade was cognizant of his father's conflicting emotions, and she realized that she should have known earlier. During the night, Jiraiya almost drowned in sake, and when I asked why, he replied that Naruto had such a strong dislike for Minato, which was contradictorism as sensei prohibited it. What a cruel turn of events. She gently placed her hands on his shoulders. Be aware that you are upset about this, even though I am unable to comprehend the magnitude of your anger. I haven't experienced what you had to endure. Minato's personal experience has taught me that he never acts without reason. The fate of Kushina and the reason for the Kyuubi's escape are uncertain. Although Minato was more proficient in Fuinjutsu than Jiraiya, it seems illogical to assume that Kushina's seal could be susceptible to damage during his reign. Despite the situation, it was imperative to find a solution or Konoha would be destroyed by Kyuubi, either through its own attacks or the other nation's revelations. You have always been aware that the Uzumaki is the only one capable of resisting the Kyuubi's corrosive chakra. Minato had no choice. Naruto's eyes revealed a bewildered look towards the blonde woman, even though he wanted to keep his anger hidden. Tsunade sighed, I'm not sure if you should be angry with me. I was the only Uzumaki known to have been present, except for your mother and you. If I had been there, I could have become the Jinchuriki instead of you. If not for you, I would have had to endure the full brunt of hatred. It's a waste of time, Bachan. Naruto swallowed the lump in his throat and stated that it was irreversible, indicating that no one could have altered the past. When will you cease to address me as Granny? Tsunade moaned. You're my granddaughter, Uzumaki Mito, Naruto said with a laugh, but his voice wasn't very cheerful. If Karen is my Nei-chan, you are my Bacha. No, I am not confident that I will ever come out on top in this competition. Kushina's stubbornness is not a secret among the gods, but they do acknowledge you. Let's move to your new property. Tsunade sighed and acknowledged his anticipation to see the place, which he hadn't been since Mito Obasama's passing. If he justifies calling me an old woman, I'll let it go, but why does a man have to look like Nawaki? I can't bear to be bothered with that. The reason they are both from the Uzumaki blood group is likely due to this. Shizune entered the office to quickly diagnose the old man's health condition, while one of the guards greeted him with "Sandame-sama" and shouted it from behind. The old man's response to the question, "Rado," was exhausting. Namishi Rado defended Hokage-sama by saying, "I have got to protect you from yourself," and asked why you didn't comply. Despite his lack of disclosure, Hiruzen was able to spot his guard's disguise while he was in the office. "You were aware of my loyalty to Minato-sama, so you didn't have to worry about anything." He told Shizun that he was okay and wanted some privacy. "We swore our loyalty to Minato-sama. Why didn't you tell us sooner?" In the event that Minato's loyal guards unexpectedly adopted a blonde baby with unknown origins, what conclusions would you draw from the situation? The outcome would have been a repeat of the same war. What was your reasoning for not taking the boy into care? The longer he was away from us, the more his true lineage would have been hidden. Although it hurt him to let this boy suffer for the village's sake, Hiruzen admitted guilt. Rado's typically empathetic expression was followed by a piercing grimace, which caused him to smile and feel alarmed. "Nevertheless, we should have taken steps to support the child. Nevertheless, we can still make progress." "What are you saying?" Hiruzen sighed. Rado's words were so clear that he wanted to instruct him. "Iwashi is too young to have known Minato-sama, and Moma is no longer with us. He didn't swear upon the same vows as I did. The Hiraishin no Jutsu will be taught to him, and I am aware of the truth." Hiruzen's gaze remained silent as he contemplated the windowpanes. Hiruzen expressed his dislike for Minato and his frustration, stating, "I can't stop thinking about it. I was aware that this would happen, but why is it causing me so much pain? Can you shed some light on this?" Despite feeling shocked and betrayed, he will understand that you did the best you could when you took the time to consider it. Rado confidently stated that he will observe Minato-sama's efforts to perform as well as possible. "Sandem-sama, I declared my loyalty to Minato-sama. Hence, I urge you to withdraw from the Hokage guard platoon and serve as Naruto's guard, and whenever possible as his teacher." Hiruzen's pupils expanded in size. Rado's unexpected arrival was accompanied by a series of unplanned events. He certainly isn't the type of person who makes these decisions impulsively. He is taking this matter very seriously. "It's evident in his eyes," he murmured. "I have no choice, Rado," he added. "You are fully aware that I won't be staying in this job for too long. If you want to leave your job, I recommend that you take it up with my successor. Until Tenzo recovers from the mental damage, Naruto will be protected by Anko, as promised. You are aware of how strong she can be when it matters. I have a feeling that she is also interested in him. Moreover, the guard unit is already short by one man, so you cannot leave immediately. New guards will need to be appointed first before my successor does." Rado's nod was a clear indication of his approval, even though he had reservations. "In the event that Naruto departs from the Hyuga's abode and takes up residence at the Uzumaki compound, I pledge to accompany him. Whether your chosen successor is in agreement with this or not. Due to my lack of knowledge about Minato-sama's childbirth, I was unable to swear on my oath. I am no longer afraid to disregard my oath now that I know this child is his son." Two men were spotted in a dimly lit room. One person knelt in front of his leader. "Our tool failed as predicted by Danzo-sama," the root Umbu said. "It is inconsequential." He was unassailable, Danzo declared. Despite initial expectations, the outcome was still better than what we had hoped for. The village he lacks proper control was only revealed by his outburst. "I have a feeling my old friend is already plotting something, and I am confident he will present his chosen replacement soon. Danzo-sama, do you think it's worth going against the candidate since we don't have the necessary leverage to secure a majority in the council?" Danzo expressed no emotion. The root of Konoha's goals are often impeded by the Hyuga, which is an unfortunate incident. Our plans are being put into action. The boy will soon be thrust into our hands. The village has been exposed to his vulnerability by us. Soon enough, they will acknowledge that he is too risky to let him free and roam. The boy may not be very good, but the raw power enveloping him However, once the deception concludes, the constraints become apparent. Hyo, you think dealing with Uzumaki Naruto will be a simple task. Persuade Sai to observe him. As per his wish, the man bowed down and said. Even in the most extreme cases, a failsafe is always available. Danzo speculated that the latter choice could be more manageable. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button and subscribe for more content. Support the original author by clicking their profile link in the pinned comment of the first video of this series. They deserve the love. Want early access and exclusive content? Join my Patreon community, link below. Your support fuels these videos. Drop a comment with your thoughts, and I'll catch you in the next video. Stay entertained, stay safe.